was Arturo. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll go live whenever. Whatever. Yeah, I'm live on Facebook. Did a weird thing. Like I had to reconnect my Facebook account
Oh, really?
to StreamYard, and so I did that, but then it looked like Facebook disconnected again. So whatever, it's not streaming to Facebook. It's just streaming to YouTube.
Okay.
Hello everybody. By now I assume you've all seen Halloween Kills. This is my friend D Movieman, and Derek is supposed to be joining us as well. Arturo, you need to leave if you don't want to hear spoilers. You got to go to work anyway. He's off to work. Okay. Sorry. All right. We're going to talk Halloween Ends. And like we did the last time, D, I'll go ahead and get started with you. What do you think?
I think it's safe to say that Halloween Ends is by far. Yeah, I think I can say that it is by far the best aspect of this entire trilogy.
Oh no!
Heads and shoulders above 2018 and Kills.
This is so totally April Fool's, right?
Hmm?
This is so totally April Fool's, right?
No, are we? We're not
So you really liked it?
I think it was clearly it's clearly not being given its due.
Oh, you are in the minority, D.
Really?
You know you are. You've seen all the hate this thing's been getting.
Wow.
Does this surprise you? You are joshing me.
It really surprises me because here's the thing. Because I'm assuming you didn't like it, right?
No, couldn't you tell by all my rants on Twitter?
Really? Okay, so here's the thing. I just think that the issue might be, and let me know if I'm wrong, Sin. I'm okay to be wrong. But I think the issue might be is that your appreciation of this franchise, and you've been with it for a long time, I think maybe you're too close to it. And I think the truth is that maybe it's Michael Myers that you really like. That's where your fascination comes in, and maybe it's what you really care about, and not the actual franchise. And I think maybe that's the issue you're having. And I think in time you will have to, like, once you let go of like your anger and all your frustration, once you like release that, like relax,
do some more yoga.
Yes, and then you're going to circle around and you're going to see it for the underappreciated masterpiece that it really is, because this is about Halloween. It's not about Michael Myers. So I think once you take that time, once you change your lens, I think you'll see this for what it really is and what it's bringing to this franchise.
Yes, Chris. He definitely is.
I don't understand this response.
Yeah, I guess it just means I'm not a true fan since I don't like it. That sort. I've been getting things like that on Twitter, or I've been seeing things like that. People are just going at it with each other. Some people are just being a little bit hateful about the disagreement in opinion about it, but yeah, so the reason Halloween 3 did so, or was so ill received, was because people wanted to see Michael Myers.
Right.
They had been led to believe that Halloween was going to be about Michael Myers because they had a Halloween 2 with Michael Myers. And even though that was not the original intention, I know you know the backstory of all this, but I don't know if everybody in the audience knows, it was originally supposed to be an anthology series of films to come out every Halloween. Well, the first one was such a hit, they wanted more of that. So that's what they did with Halloween 2. And then at the ends of after Halloween 2 was done, they tried to course correct and get back on the original plan, and that didn't go well. So people have tried to say, well, Halloween 3 has this cult following now, and it wasn't appreciated at the time. So they're trying to compare that with how ill received this latest one is. But there's no comparison because it's not the same sort of situation, like at all. At all. Halloween 3 wasn't even about Michael. Well, it is in a way, because Halloween Ends isn't really about Michael Myers too much either.
Right.
He does kind of make up the backbone of this story, Michael and Laurie. Those two characters are fan favorites. And when you have Michael Myers treated as basically like an afterthought, and it's like, oh yeah, we need to have this showdown between Laurie and Michael. Let's get to it. It's just, and the trailer that was misleading. They took out there's a scene, where she's like standing up against, I
Yeah.
think but and he comes around the side. That's not even in the movie. I don't remember that at all in the movie.
Nope.
And you know what's funny? When I was watching the teaser and it's showing the perspective of, Michael's coming up to the house and the breathing, I remember making a comment. I wonder if that's Allison in the mask, because it sounds like feminine breathing or something like that. I didn't think it was Michael. And it wasn't Michael. That's why I didn't think it was Michael. It didn't sound like his breathing.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. Yeah, well, I loved 2018 and I did not like Kills, but after Ends, I definitely like Kills much more than I did before. Because at least it followed the same sort of formula or the pattern that we've come to expect. And I like it when filmmakers take bold risks, but the risk that they took with this one just felt like it was so far off the rails. There was just no saving it for me. You were getting ready to say something.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, I'm sure having the watch party where we were having a fun time, even with all of the foolishness going on, probably didn't help it, technically speaking.
Probably. I know, it's true. I look back on that day fondly.
Exactly.
Oh, I wish I could recapture the fun of Halloween again. Yeah, I know exactly. That's what it felt like. Oh, yeah, by the way. Oh, and another thing. So, you know how in the other Halloweens, like Halloween 4 and 5, and like there had been this span of time that had gone by where Michael is just gone. He's disappeared. And you wonder, you wonder now, how in the world, like what did he survive on? How did he manage to eat and sustain himself without attracting too much attention? Because he's always skulking in the shadows. He doesn't go and do like how he behaved in the Kills and kill everybody all around. But what I liked about this was that, okay, so we start off with Halloween 78, and then it's 40 years later, and he's in an institution. So okay, that's solved. Then he gets out and there's this one night of terror, but then they do this 4-year time jump and he's been living in the sewers for 4 years. I don't know. And then the kid comes in and yeah, okay, hold on. Let me read. This felt like it would have been a good spinoff takeout. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, as a standalone by itself, not about Michael Myers sort of story, but just kind of sort of peripherally related to it. Yeah, it could have been, though some of the stuff Corey did just made no sense. Like when he said, if I can't have her, nobody will. And then he kills himself. What? Or he stabs himself. And then I thought he was going to, like try to kill Allison or try to kill Laura. That would have made sense, right? But no, if I can't have her, nobody is. So let me kill myself. No, nobody will have her. But let me kill myself.
But how will nobody have her if you're dead?
Exactly. That part, that really made no sense to me at all. It's like the characters did some of the dumbest stuff. It just, and the personality shift with Allison felt she was like going from this nice, sweet little girl instead of sort of the character arc that Laurie took, which was completely understandable from 78 to 2018. She does this complete sort of like personality reversal where I really honestly thought she was going to put on the Michael Myers mask at one point and be involved in all the killing. Let's burn the whole place down. Okay, Allison. What? Yeah, it kind of did. I mean, maybe if this were, yeah, I think I would have appreciated this so much more if it hadn't been tied to the Halloween franchise. It's not necessarily a bad horror movie. It's just a really shitty Halloween movie. I swear I have been in such a I really have. I've been kind of like I woke up Friday just feeling like and I was like, "Oh,
No,
it's because I'm still annoyed that Halloween ended so badly." I mean, I like the end. Okay. I do like that Lori gets her happily ever after. That's what I wanted for her.
that's what I thought about you when I saw the end. Actually, that's what's funny.
Did you predict that that was that Michael was going to end up in the car crusher? Because I did.
I think as far as initially, I didn't. Now I don't know at what point you thought about it. As soon as she said, I don't know, Lori said something like, that's not enough, or we got to make sure. Like she
Allison
basically said,
said he wasn't dead enough.
right. As soon as I said that, I was like, and for like a point, like 0.5 seconds, I was like, well, where else would? Because at first I thought she was actually. Once they said that, I thought they were gonna cut his
Cut
head
off
off.
his head, right,
Right.
and
But then when
burn
they
him
showed him, yeah, and
like
then
Loomis had suggested.
right, which would have been interesting. But to kind of circle back to that, but when they showed him tied up and all, I was like, for like 0.5 seconds, I was like, so. And I didn't know if it was one of those things where it's like we're gonna go out of Haddonfield and like we're cleansing the town of this thing. I don't know. I didn't know where it was going for like a second. And then like before they got there, right before they got there, I was like, oh, I know what
It's gonna
they're
be yeah. Well, I knew as soon as they focused on it in the very first scene that it was focused on.
hmm.
Because
Right.
they showed the car crush and they focused on it, I think, one other time.
Hmm.
And so the first time they showed it, I was like, okay, this is gonna play a part, and I bet this is how Michael's gonna die in this crusher.
Okay. So you called it like early.
I did, and he was already dead, but whatever. I mean, he ended up in the crusher like I figured he would. Just like, did you did okay. Did the pumpkins give it away for you where this was gonna go? Because it did for me.
Not for me. There was something else that, and it depends on what you're talking about, but if it's what I think it is, there was something else that gave it away.
The pumpkins, new ones coming and new ones coming and a new one coming and a new one. I was like, "Oh, so this is gonna be about the whole thing about the whole Michael Myers sort of cloud over Haddonfield. It's gonna create more Michael Myerses."
Oh, you mean like as far as that? I thought like I did think that because initially I was stuck on because I was trying to remember. I'm like, are these all the pumpkins from each film? Like that was my first. I was trying to figure.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think
Yeah,
about
yeah. I was trying to figure out if like each pumpkin was from each film. So that was that. So I kind of got distracted by that. And then at the end, I like kind of like turned my head for a second because when they showed the bear pumpkin and they like closed in, I'm like, please don't let this thing explode and make a loud
that.
noise. I'm like, I would be really irritated if they do that. But no, it was just the guts and stuff inside. So I
And
think.
the
Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. You finish your thought. It's
Yeah,
okay.
no, I was gonna say, and visually, I thought it looked really cool. I thought that was kind of a cool idea. I did think once they, I did think I did agree as far as I even said that in the little watch party we had that the idea of the curse of Michael Myers, like the idea of what that means and how that can just kind of infect this town or what that can mean as
Mhm.
far as the legacy of that and what that can kind of give birth to. I thought the idea of that was interesting. So, and I wasn't 100% sure if they would go that route or not because I only watched the teaser. So it was kind of in the back of my mind. But I was like, maybe, and they kind of pointed to that. Did they point to it in the intro, um, or was it after? I couldn't remember if it was after the opening scene. I couldn't remember if they did that.
So the opening scene is with Corey babysitting the little kid.
Right, and I couldn't remember when they talked about like, oh, and now all these things have happened. I couldn't remember if that was right
Yeah.
before the babysitting scene or if that was after the
Oh, I can't I think it might have been after because they were
no,
showing the woman in the car, she'd been
right,
shot or something like that. They were showing all these different things that had happened, and one of the cops said, I think it was one of the cops said, "Michael doesn't use a gun," or something like that. It was like, "Oh, okay, so crime is happening, and basically they're blaming it on because of, this thing that Michael Myers left behind in the town that's just, like, haunted
mhm,
all these but, I mean, the thing is crime happens everywhere. I wouldn't necessarily attribute someone shot in a car with Michael My it's because Michael Myers infected this town. No, it's because humans do bad things.
right, exactly.
Oh, but the font. Okay, so the font, D. And the music that they played during the
Mhm.
Blumhouse thing. The music? was like, wait, that's way too chipper and too happy and too like, this isn't right. This doesn't fit. And then
Right.
they showed the font. And I was like, whoa, that's not the right font. What is going on here? And
Right.
then you saw that tweet that someone put up about all the different Halloween fonts. And the two where Michael Myers is not prominent at all, or not like was Halloween 3
Right.
and Halloween Ends, and they had the exact same font. So
Yep.
that was messaging right there.
Hmm.
So I agree completely with what Chris says here. That's the
Yes.
first I was with this movie, D, up until that moment. Up
Right.
until Michael drags Corey into the drain, and then he looks in his eyes and he sees he's got the same darkness and he lets him go. And then I was like, no, no. That was when I was like, oh no, don't tell me they're gonna partner up and they're gonna start killing people together. And they sure did. And then Michael, like when he's doing his first kill and he's like acting almost orgasmic, I swear, like he was getting new energy in life because he had finally killed again. It was like, this is so bad. This is so bad. Oh my gosh.
There
Yeah,
it
right.
is.
Change of
There it is.
shape.
Hmm.
That's the whole point of that movie. Okay, well, you could have done it without including Michael Myers. Anything about Halloween at all, just make a whole different film. But also Corey's evolution was too it okay, so I get, they're trying to compare the same darkness that he has to Michael, but
Hmm.
Michael was, yeah, like full-blown evil and psychotic from the age of 6 or younger, and from 6 on he never talked. It never showed him in an abusive sort of situation.
Hmm.
So that's what made him so scary. Was you don't know why is he like this? And you don't know. So
Right.
that's scary that you can't understand it, because most of the time when people go off the rails in their life, it's because something awful has happened to them in their childhood. This goes, I mean, you can tie this to almost any sort of like serial killer,
Right.
anybody who's involved in like a mass crime, like the stuff, you can almost always go back to their childhood
Hmm.
or them being on some type of medication that is just not, you know what I mean? But with
Hmm.
Michael, there's none of that. But with Corey, you could see, okay, well, he's been so abused by society and his mom. You could tell his mom was abusive. Like they did not have a healthy relationship. So you could, like, his evolution into what he became makes a bit of sense, but it just felt like it happened a bit too quickly. Like he goes from being this beaten down but very ultimately nice kid who
Hmm.
bad things had happened to, and then all of a sudden he meets Michael Myers and then he's just killing the bum and then he's killing this person and he's killing. I swear.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, oh, since I never officially said it, I felt it was necessary to open things up by using an echo chamber for some of the conversation I saw on Twitter. And
Ugh.
since, of course, the algorithm brings you up so regularly, I was like, okay, let's jump in here. Um, but yeah, and I think, like you said, it's weird because it's like I walked away from it not completely incensed simply because of like the ending itself and because I thought about you. And I think at that point I was like, okay, this is over. So I kind of felt a sense of relief that probably kind of negated some of the, oh, what's going on here. So that was more so my initial kind of feeling. But of course, whenever I have time to just kind of sit and really think of, okay, so how do I really feel about this? What were my real issues? And then I started to kind of like really think about what went wrong. And I kind of felt it during the film, but I was like, let me kind of go past the ending and kind of go back to how I felt. And I think the problem is they tried to cram like these random subplots into this film.
Mhm.
And I feel like it would be one thing. I think part of the issue is, so initially this was supposed to be, all three of these films were supposed to take place on the same night.
Yeah.
But then I guess because of the Ponderosa, as I call it, they decided with this last film, they needed to push. They like, oh hey, let's push it forward by like 4 years, which in and of itself may not have been an issue. I feel like it would have made more sense to just keep it as is. But okay, if you want to push it forward 4 years, okay, maybe there are new opportunities to do something with the story. But you can't, with the 4-year jump, you cannot completely do a 180 on everyone's personalities and then
Mhm.
the new character that we know nothing about and that you don't really have the time to develop. Now, maybe if we had seen Corey in a couple of scenes in 2018 and then they
Right.
expanded it a little bit more in Kills, then it was like, oh, okay, so now we know this character, and we kind of see the progression of that. Because I think in theory it would have been interesting seeing someone kind of wrestling with it's kind of like, as corny as it is, but the darkness inside, like,
Yeah, right.
yeah, and all this trauma and all these horrible things kind of then, kind of transferring and then not really being sure how to wrestle with that. That would have been fine in theory, but the way that they handled it and the way that they did, like, the whole, Michael looking into his eyes and seeing his past
Oh my gosh,
future,
yeah.
and it's like, you know what I thought of? Have you seen Split?
I have.
And you remember the ending which I'm not mocking that moment, but the ending where he basically sees her scars. And he's like, "You are one of those."
It's been a while since I think I've only seen it twice, but yeah, I do vaguely remember that.
Yeah, but it's basic, and like I said, that means something significant. That's more significant in that film. But it's almost like they were trying to do the same thing, where it's like, "You are mocked," in the
Right?
same way. Like, I can see your trauma, and I can see the darkness inside, and I was just kind of like, but how does that work? Because then that would have to suggest something about Michael as a being or a person or even a human that kind of goes against what he is. I'm not saying
Exactly.
that it's hard because I'm like, I don't want to think that the idea of there being more up there, I'm not saying that that's not intriguing, but as far as we've seen, he's called the shape and there's nothing in there but pure evil. So
Yeah.
how could there be room and space for him to look inside? And even with the darkness piece, like, how would he know enough about this person to detect darkness? It'd be one thing if he saw him um, kill someone, or maybe if he saw something, and even still, it would be silly. But just kind of looking, it's like, ah, there it is. I'll
Mhm.
leave you alone. And then when you
Yeah.
come back, hey, let's go on a journey together. Why?
Yeah, and exactly. See, that kind of ties into why I think a lot of people weren't thrilled with Rob Zombie's version of Halloween, is
Right,
because they went into all this backstory. And while I mean, I like it okay, it's definitely not my favorite
right.
in the whole all these stories. But I do have to say, Tyler Mane is probably one of the more intimidating slash scary Michael, because of his size, he's so big. And I actually liked the mask. I thought the mask was pretty
Oh, I did
cool.
too. Yeah,
But the story as a whole, when you give him this personality that he had and you think about him as the child and all this stuff, it takes away the fear factor.
mhm,
For me it does, which is why also when they go supernatural, that takes away the fear factor for me. I
right,
Because the fact that he's a human, but he is just nothing but pure evil is scary to me. Human evil is scarier to me than, like, let's say, supernatural cults and
mhm,
people being possessed. Yeah, I mean that I know people believe in possession and all that, and but I'll give you an example, like The Exorcist has never really scared me.
right.
I think the thing about a movie like The Exorcist that gives me this awful feeling is just the feeling of a mother with a child that has this terrible, scary thing happening, and that's frightening. But as
Exactly.
far as the whole, the possession by the devil, that doesn't really scare me,
Right,
like on the same sort of level as something like a Michael Myers scares me.
right.
But
Exactly. And I was going to say, as far as what Chris said, I also remember hearing or reading that Hawkins was supposed to have like a bigger arc here. And I figured, my assumption was, I want to say the character's name is Lindsay. After escaping from Michael Myers, I thought there would be she might be involved and Hawkins
more,
might be involved and
yeah,
all these other characters. And I think that was also the issue, is that there was no, and I get that we don't need to do the mob thing again, but it's like there was no, like, unity between the characters. It was
Mm-hmm.
almost like it was these individual things happening. We have Allison and Corey over here. We have Lori over here. We have Hawkins over here. We have Lindsay over here. Everyone's just kind of doing their own thing. And then somewhere in there, Michael is even kind of doing his own thing. Like, oh, I'm just chilling here in the sewer. It's
Just
like,
hanging out here watching the bum pass by, and
yeah,
he never killed the bum or anything. But
right,
that was also strange. Michael kills pretty much almost everybody he comes into contact with, and the bum had seen him for a while. He
right,
knew he was down there.
yeah. And I thought that was bizarre. I thought their way of trying to, oh my gosh. Now I will say that was my first kind of, because you know how I am with writing. So I can let it go sometimes, but my first kind of like, are we doing this? Is when Lori comes out of the store. Now some of the stuff with Hawkins
Oh,
was a little goofy anyway, but I'm like, okay, whatever. I will just, I'll let it ride. Yeah, a little clunky, but whatever. But when she walks outside,
mm-hmm.
and uh,
Yep.
Miss Ma'am, who decides to confront her, I was just so like, I was so done because I was like, why are we doing? First of all, just the way they wrote it in this was just goofy
It
because
was so terrible.
it was like, well, first of all, do you even know her name? Do you know da? And what about? And I was like, first of all, I don't even like the way y'all are doing this. Like she's so amped up, and then she said something like, this all happened because of you, and da da da.
Yeah.
And I was like, well,
Yeah.
no, I understand your sister can't speak currently.
Well, she shouldn't have even been in there. She should have
I
been
was gonna
dead.
say that next
Yeah.
because
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
we have done. Yeah, no, I'm getting to that next, but um, I'm like, first of all, ma'am, I understand your sister can't speak right now, but if you can get her to type out her thoughts and explain to you that part of the reason she died is because she chose to open up a door and stand there while this man impaled her. Maybe you feel a little differently.
Right.
Plus, I think you should have more energy for the person who's going around killing people versus like the person.
Versus one of his victims.
Exactly. And then this whole thing, like, do you even know her name? Ma'am, do you know your neighbor's name? Do you guys go
Right.
out to brunch? Do you
Right.
guys hang
Right.
out? I didn't understand that either. And then why are we literally repeating Hawkins? It's like the same thing. Hawkins has some kind of neck injury and gets run over and he survives. And this woman literally gets impaled through her
Through the throat with a
throat
broken bulb.
and she's bleeding out additionally, and who knows for how long, because no one would have known that that was going on.
Right.
And then all of a sudden she's just in her wheelchair with a scar. I was like, oh, is that how that works?
Yeah. Yeah, so I picked up on that too, and the whole thing about accusing her, it's your fault, you egged she never egged Michael on. I don't get where this come from. This never happened. She didn't egg him on. He came to her. She was prepared, but she
Mhm.
didn't she went to the jail when he was supposed to be but she didn't do anything. She
Right.
never confronted Michael in all those years. She'd never talked to him. She'd never been face to face with him after that first attack. He ended up at her place, through the plots and plannings of the doctor.
Mhm.
But she was never like out there, come here, Michael, come here. She never did
Right.
that crap. So I don't understand why they even threw that in. It's like, what? I just don't get it.
But they did that in Kills too. Whereas,
Yeah.
and I can't remember. We just watched it. I can't remember what character it was, but it's like they do this thing where it's like, or I think she said something like, it's because of me, and I'm like,
Yeah, she was talking with Hawkins, and then Hawkins said, "No, it's not you, the doctor, or it's not you." Yeah, he basically clarified it to her. She thought it was all revolving around her, which I never got that mentality either.
"Mm-mm."
At just and yeah, like Chris said, this huge character shift that Laurie had.
That's what I'm saying. It's like everyone's like, Michael doesn't want to kill anymore. Lori isn't on guard anymore. Allison is super thirsty. Like Corey all of a sudden wants to murder people. It's like everyone suddenly is just like, oh, ho, ho. Like everyone's just like, and really, I was really thrown off. Like I said, everyone, I was confused about all the 180s, but I
Mhm.
really didn't like what they did with Allison because it's like, given your experience, you more than anyone, especially after seeing what happened to your mother, I think you would have some sense of. I feel like she would have a mindset to be on guard. Like, even I understand you don't want to have that same experience that your grandmother had. You're not trying to be like that, but it's like all of a sudden it's just like all that kind of goes out the window. And it was really weird. I can't speak to how people interact with people that they like, but I was really thrown off by how weird and overt like her her energy with him was. Like, even like when they're in the junkyard and he has the motorcycle and she's like, "You're gonna teach me how to ride?"
Yeah, they were really familiar. They were so familiar with each other the way that I was like, wait a second, did they know each other before this? But no, you find out no, really they had first met when Laurie introduces them in this movie. But then, like I said, she's being all flirty and she's all familiar, and I'm like, they had to have known each other before. But then no. Laurie talks about how, or he says, you introduced me to her. So I'm like, no, I guess they didn't know each other before, but she really did jump on that one, didn't she? Like, she was quick.
Seriously, do
She
you
took
remember
to him.
exactly? Do you remember Age of Ultron and what they did with Natasha and Bruce?
Wait, what?
Black Widow and Hulk, Bruce and
Oh,
Natasha.
yeah, the second Avengers. I always call it just Avengers 2. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah,
With Natasha and Bruce,
yeah,
their
and
connection.
how all of a sudden Natasha was just being very like, "Let's jump in the bed,"
Yeah.
basically, just kind of like,
Yeah, let
"Oh,
me tap your hand a little.
yeah." Like, I mean, and again, I understand we've been through all this stuff together.
Right,
We have
Simon.
all, oh gosh.
Somebody's always got these good little quips. Okay, go ahead.
And I get it. Like, you bond with people, your relationship grows, but it just felt from Avengers to where she nearly got killed by Hulk and had to like literally run and sprint away.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know.
Oh my gosh.
She does, doesn't she?
Yeah, and to all of a sudden, in the second film, it's like, oh, and it just was really, it was too extra. It made them both in both cases they just looked a lot thirstier, where their general personalities and demeanors that had already been established, even if they did like this person, they wouldn't navigate it like that. And I just felt like the way they wrote that, it was just like, hey, we have to rush into this love story, you have to rush into this romance. And I was just like, but what do you like about this man? What do you know about
Right.
him?
Yeah.
And what is so significant about him besides hormonal, angst or whatever, that would be driving your desire to just throw it all away for this man and
Yeah.
ignore the grandmother who has taught you all this stuff and whose, experience has basically confirmed all this. Your mother, I mean, I don't get it. It's just like
Yeah.
you
Yeah, they
just throw
tried to
all this
go
away.
it felt like they tried to go the route of rebellious teenager with Allison, even though by that point she's not a teenager anymore. And, all of this family upheaval that's happening because of this destructive or dangerous person that's been, brought into the midst. And she's, I thought she might would and the whole thing with Laurie pulling the knife out of his throat right as Allison walks in the door, that was stupid. It's like, don't touch the knife. Why are you doing that? Of course, they do all the dumbest sorts of stuff in movies, I swear. You should
And
know never to handle the murder weapon or the killing weapon. It's going to make you look like you did it naturally. I thought she was going to kill Laurie or try to kill Laurie.
mhm,
And then she just turns and walks out of the house. It,
yeah. And
uh,
you mean to tell me your belief at that point, you really think
that she would have
that,
killed him.
like, for what reason? Oh, are we supposed to believe that, I guess, oh, your obsession with Michael Myers is so great that
That she
now.
would kill this, and she didn't even notice the mask. The mask was right there on the floor. She didn't notice the Michael Myers mask and the fact that Corey was all dressed up looking, sketchy.
Mm,
She didn't notice any of this. She just automatically thinks her grandmother killed him. Okay. Oh, and then Michael just happens along and it's like, "Oh yeah, let's do this thing with the Mike between Michael and Laurie." And then he gets slashed on the throat. Like, come on. He has bled out a lot and he still grabs her by the neck and has strength enough to almost kill her. But earlier, this punk kid could knock him down and steal his mask.
whew.
I was eyeball rolling so hard when I was watching this movie. It was just like,
Yeah.
it's amazing they didn't fall right out of my head and just roll down the steps. I was so upset.
And it was funny. It's funny because at a certain point, and it was before it became really overt because I wasn't 100% sure where Corey's arc, and this was like very very early on, so I wasn't 100% sure as far as what they would do with this character yet. But when I saw him in the junkyard and he had on, I don't even know what you call those. I don't know if it's like
Like those work
yeah,
overall type or
yeah,
whatever. Yeah, I know
yeah,
what
like
you mean. Yeah.
coveralls or something like that. But yeah, I saw him wearing that and I was like,
Uh-oh, that was some symbol. Yeah, I didn't pick up on that, but yeah,
yeah, that was
that's a
that was
good thing to
my
notice.
yeah, that was my absolute oh, there it is. There it is.
Yeah. Yep.
And so then when we as we progressed, I was like, okay, okay, yeah. Yeah.
I don't D. I'm just so
Question. How did you feel about the opening scene?
I actually liked it.
I did too.
I like I said, I was with this movie up until Michael Myers and Corey came together. That was when it started to lose me because that was when my concern about the pumpkins in the intro was, it was confirmed. And I knew, but I kept trying to, I was like, well, maybe it's just going to show he's struggling really hard against this inner demon and he conquers it and he doesn't do any of these bad things. Like, no, he kills the bum as soon as he gets out of, as soon as he gets out of the drain pipe. It was
I,
just,
and,
oh my
and
gosh.
it was kind of weird the way it was kind of weird the way they made that be the kickoff because it's like the man was trying to attack him, and I guess from what I remember, like didn't he kind of accidentally kill him, or were we supposed to think that he intentionally was like die?
Well, I think there were multiple stabs. I think the
Mhm.
first one initially, I think that one might have been an accident, but
Right.
after he did it more than just the one time, because
Oh
I
yeah.
think he did it more than once, I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely going down that path.
Right.
He's gonna be going down the dark road.
Right.
So, but then I was saying, oh, watch them, they're gonna team up. They're gonna do tag team killing or whatever, and that's exactly what happened. That first kill that they did together was so it was so cringe. It was so like he's holding him back while Michael has never worked with anybody before. He's never let anybody live that he's gone after. Maybe somebody's escaped, like Lori escaped, but he's
Mhm.
never let anybody go.
Right.
Did these people not even know what they were writing? There were 4 writers on this. I
Okay.
saw
See.
that in the credits, and I was worried when I saw that in the credits. I was like, "Oh, that's a lot of people." But, I don't know. Felt like there were multiple writers and kills too. I think it was more than just the director.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say I've gotten to the point where, and maybe there are exceptions. I guess if you have an anthology and something where you have like different segments within one film or something like that. But it's just like the more I'm seeing it, it's just kind of like it seems like if you have more than 2 writers, it just seems like
Mhm.
it's too many cooks in the kitchen
Uh-huh.
because
Yep.
Candyman had 3 writers. This had like 4. I can't think of another. Oh, I haven't seen it, but Space Jam: A New Legacy had like 6 writers.
Oh. Oh,
So
that's terrible.
yeah. So it's just kind of like you do realize, and like I said, I felt like writing a screenplay is a lot, so I understand having other people on hand. But it seems like the more people you have, maybe there's not a consistent vision, or everyone has like a different idea of what to contribute, and maybe that's not the direction you need to take, especially when it comes to pulling in all of these characters and I guess trying to tie in things from like previous, not literally previous films, but like trying to like tie in 2018, tie in kills, but then also trying to make references maybe to the films that technically don't exist anymore and borrow from that. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. I was getting ready to say something and I completely lost it too. Crap. What was I gonna
Sorry, what did
say?
you mean?
No, it was something that flitted in my mind, and then I was popping up these comments and listening to you, and then I completely forgot where I was going with it. It's just it feels like such a ripoff. I really, people the people getting angry at people. So
Oh
like
my,
there's been so much of that. So people that like the film
right,
being angry and calling the people that don't like the film toxic. Well, I okay. Um Okay, yeah, some people can be, nasty,
right,
like, well, you're just stupid. I've been name called already by someone who liked the film. I was delusional. I was not a real fan, that sort of thing, because um anyway, and then you have the people that hate the film and they're being rude also to people that love the film,
right.
well, you just don't have good standards of, you just don't have, that sort of nonsense.
Of
But
course,
there's a reason people don't like this movie. It's not because Halloween fans are toxic by nature. It's
right,
because we were so in general, most fans were so happy with 2018, including me.
right.
And then we saw what was started off as something with so much promise, it just went right down the crapper. And it feels like such a it feels like such a waste. A
Right.
waste of Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
A waste of the character of Michael Myers.
Mhm.
And it makes me so angry, like, now when I say I'm gonna pretend it kills and ends never I'm not gonna that's not gonna be part of my annual movie watching. It's all just gonna be Halloween '78 and Halloween 2018, and that's it, and that's where the story ends, and he died in the fire, and I'm happy.
And the rest of this is just a fever dream
Yes,
that
exactly. It was just, it was a nightmare.
yeah, I mean, literally, that's
It
that's
was a
really what
Michael Myers nightmare for sure.
exactly. What was I gonna say? Oh, and of course I won't name any names, but when I saw the one, I mean, you responded to a few, but it's one in particular I saw, and I just think whenever words like simp enter the conversation,
Oh, yeah, that one came up.
I was like, I don't
Simp
really.
and cuck.
I was like, why is this necessary? I was really confused when I saw that, and it's weird to
I
me
was too, because I
I know,
followed that guy for a long time, and he seems like he's, okay, right, you like it, that's fine, I disagree that it's a
right?
good movie, but yeah, I know, I don't get all the hostility. It's crazy.
Yeah, because ultimately, because I'm sure. I mean, not even sure, but I'm like, I know. Even like with you and I, like the way. Besides, I mean, film is subjective regardless, but I know even our lens for what we may like or dislike about certain movies, is different. Like we've discussed, a lot of times with these films, like how they depict women and things like that, and how there are some um, that you're really not here for that I've been okay with. Or like all kinds of films. Like we have a different lens or whatever, but I've never thought in my mind sin. Have you ever considered that your hostility towards women is informing the way you see these films? Maybe you should see a therapist and work through internal trauma because this is not a good look. It's just like no, like, and you have your reasons based on your experiences and the way you. I mean, not even just experience. I mean, yes, experience, but also just seeing the pattern with these films and how
Yeah.
these characters are depicted, and also because you've seen examples growing up of well written women who are interesting, who are layered, and who are strong, but not like in a stereotypical way. Like there's layers to it.
Right, yes.
So there's no way, I mean, and because I know that, and even outside of that, knowing that it's all subjective, I would never take it upon myself to like be mad at you because that's your perspective. And so to me, it's kind of like the same thing, and this happens all the time, but it's just like what people did at the with the Game of Thrones finale.
Oh,
Most people weren't here for it, but then you had this subsect of people who were just like, well, you wouldn't have been satisfied either way, and it wasn't that bad, and what did you think was gonna happen? And it's like, look, what you're satisfied with and what I'm satisfied with and what your expectations were and what mine were very different. But I don't like this thing that people do where they almost, and I know this word is overused, but it's almost like they gaslight everybody else into thinking,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, what's wrong? Why are you so upset? And what
Yeah.
were your expectations? And what's the big deal? It's like, whatever my expectations were, that's what they were. And if it didn't live up to it, that's just what it is. But I'm not going to
Yeah.
suddenly say, this was a masterpiece because you think that's what I should say. So it's weird that this is the, and maybe it's just, it happens regardless. Maybe if everyone loves something, you're going to have people who say, oh, but this was horrible. You know, like, I understand it's always going to be that way, but it's just kind of like, I just don't get the point of being mad and using the words, of course, that we were just discussing, and just some of these other tweets. I'm like, what are you upset about? And what are we supposed to say? Like, do you want us to? And my thing is, if that's the case, then can I then call you those same things when you suddenly like a film that I didn't? It's just
Right.
weird, or
Yeah.
vice versa.
Or vice versa. If you hated a film that I liked, it's like, I think it's like people somehow take it seriously. Like they take it personally.
Personally,
Personally
yeah.
is what they take it personally if someone doesn't like something that they like.
Mhm.
And while I'm happy if someone likes the same sort of thing I like. That's, oh yeah, yeah, we like it. We can talk about it and all that. And I have my reasons for liking it and it's fun. And I like that you like it. So then we have something in common and we can talk and we can hash it
Mhm.
out and everything.
Right,
But it's like people take it as some sort of personal affront. Like it's saying something about them as a person if somebody doesn't like the same thing they like, or if somebody doesn't equally hate something. And it
right.
becomes this crazy extreme on both, sides of like or dislike or whatever. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's so
It's just really,
silly.
yeah, it's just really bizarre. And even when it comes to, because I mean, you and I both have seen toxic fandom, and to me, that leans more to things like, um, sending death threats to actors because you hated their performances, or really, because I've seen some people saying like, we need to write to, like, we're gonna write to Jamie Lee Curtis because she's the reason why this was so horrible, and
Yeah.
he's the reason for this, all this stuff. Like, to me, when you feel like you need to take action, and you need to send, like, really, a bunch of vitriol to actors or the director or the crew, like, to me, that's toxicity.
Yeah.
Like, you're just like, you're really taking this too seriously, and like, you're
Well, yeah, there's a line you don't cross. It's not
right,
cool to
right,
threaten to hurt somebody because you don't like some creative thing that they were involved in.
right. If you don't, and like I said, I get disliking something, but to me, that's toxicity to me. But then trying to say that those same people are the same people who just don't like the way something was done, it's like, that's not the
Yeah,
same thing.
yeah,
These are not
that's what
equal.
they're trying to do. That happens all the time. I've seen, and then actors, they have to jump in. Well, the only reason you don't like it is because you're mad that a white person didn't win in the end. It's, that sort of shit that they
Mhm,
throw out. It's like, no, it has nothing to do with that, idiot. It's
mhm,
it's the writing is terrible. It doesn't make sense.
mhm.
So, and it's like they can't understand the distinction between these really awful people over here that do terrible things and say terrible things, and they're gonna do that no matter what.
Right.
And then there's the larger group of people, the majority of people who have actual issues with it, and they're
Mhm,
trying to explain it, and then you keep trying to attach these ridiculous labels to them. Well, you're just an ist or an obe or whatever that they throw out there.
mhm,
And it's like nobody's listening to each other. Not
mhm.
now that's an exaggeration. That's not true, but it's
Right.
like there's just all this mudslinging and it's so silly.
Yeah. And ultimately, it all comes down to entertainment. And I mean, and ultimately, and this sounds like one of those arguments that adults would throw out whenever kids didn't like something, or I don't want to eat. Like, well, there are children in other countries. This is going to sound like that, but arguably, there are countries where their stuff is censored, or they don't even get certain films, or like,
Yeah.
like that we don't have this kind of access or these kind of resources, or like there's so much there. So it's weird to me when people make such a big show. It's just like we are very I mean, there's a lot of access that we have as far as entertainment, and the fact that we are able to watch so many, films and TV shows, and gosh, with the abundance of these,
Oh yeah, something for everybody.
there's something for everybody. So I mean, we can always find something to appreciate, but it's kind of weird when there are fights over entertainment, because ultimately it's we're talking about TV shows and we're talking about movies, and I think that there are much more significant issues we could
Yeah.
possibly be upset about, and I just feel like that's not one of those things. Yes, we can discuss what we like and dislike, but all this other stuff, I'm just like, what's going on here?
Yeah, death threats and name calling and all that nonsense. I don't know. It's just people are passionate about it because they really love these two characters. Michael Myers, I wanted him to die. I'm glad he died. But I felt, and this is going to be the weirdest ass thing to say, but I felt like because he's scared. I am scared of him,
Right.
and he's a very bad man, and I wanted him to bite it. But I felt like he was treated so disrespectfully in this movie. So
Mhm.
isn't that so weird to say that? But you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
mean, he's this established character. There's all this mythos built up around him and about him, and he's this thing. He's
Mhm.
this scary shape,
Yeah.
and then they just treat him like this doddering old fool in the sewers who someone can just steal his mask.
Exactly. Um,
I
and it's interesting because you know what this reminds me of a lot, and I'm trying to decide whether I should do a review on this or not. But this, and I'll probably say this there if I decide to, but this trilogy, I guess, it has a lot in common with the new Star Wars trilogy to me.
That's exactly what Arturo was telling me. Yeah, he was saying
Uh,
he's drawn comparisons multiple times.
I
So
am, yeah, I was gonna say not long after, like it was not long after, might have even been that same night, but it's like The Force Awakens. It was a pretty solid, like, oh, okay, we're going in a new direction. We're seeing all these characters again. It's fun to be in this world again, and it's cool to see this extension, and it's gonna be great to see where we go from here. If we do, at that point, we knew we were going to. And then with Halloween, it was like, oh, this is a really solid chapter. And then I, of course, thought my issue at the end of Halloween is it is it going to? My thought was, is this actually over or is it going to continue? And I was like, if it is going to continue, are we going to get back into this whole Michael never dies thing? Because that was the issue we did
I
before.
was
So if we go
worried about
on
that.
that same road, I don't know. So it's not that I didn't enjoy 2018, but it's just like at the end, I was like, I don't know if I should be happy or if I should be worried, Um, and as we see, maybe I had cause to be to be worried.
Well, I was happy. Okay, so I was a little slow to the game. I realized early on after seeing it that, oh, they had these other movies planned. But like I've mentioned before, the very, very first time I saw it with Arturo and Aurelia, and I thought that was it. I thought
Mhm.
he was dead. And I didn't stay to the end. I didn't hear the breathing at the end.
Right,
But
right,
even if I had,
right.
I I don't know that I would have thought, "Oh,
No,
this means he's alive." I probably would have thought, "Oh, this means, the evil, there's just the presence of evil. It's just always there."
right,
That's
exactly.
probably what I would have thought. So I was happy. "Oh, he's dead." I was like, "Oh, wow, it's over." But I'm happy because that was solid, and he's dead. He actually died, even though they didn't show his body, whatever. But it's kind of it's open-ended to the point that you can read two things into it. He got away,
Mhm.
he survived, or he died. And so no matter what sort of ending you like, you could be happy with that.
Exactly.
And I was happy, and then I found out they had a trilogy planned, and my first thought was, "Oh, crap, they need to really write it solid to explain how he survived that fire then, because there was no trap door, there was no exit door, there's no way he could have gotten out unless there was something we didn't know about that was like a hidden door to the side, all that." So, I thought they were gonna explain it that way, and like I was telling you during the watch party, I liked how they explained how he survived. He wasn't in the fire super long time because they got there quickly, and he hid in the gun area.
Right.
And so I could buy that. I could buy that.
Mhm.
But then it goes off the rails in all these other ways. And I went into this movie so much more optimistic than I felt at the end of Kills, but because this is what I was hearing. I was hearing it was getting good buzz with test audiences. That's what I'd heard. I had heard the same thing about 2018, but I would just like see like a little quick flash, and I would just like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it, and I'd move, go open up another tab or something, click away. But I had heard some rumblings of good buzz.
Mhm.
Now that just might have been nothing but marketing and false stories that they were putting out, to try to make you feel good about it. And I didn't hear that same sort of thing about Kills. I was hearing, "Oh, Kills, it's very bloody and over the top." And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Mhm.
Um but so I went into this feeling differently than I thought I was going to be feeling. And then I was just like it was like the disappointment of Kills multiplied times 10.
Mm.
It's just I don't necessarily know how I would have written it to make it better, but I just know it wasn't written good.
Right. Yeah, and so I think it's kind of played out very similar to that, and like, the same thing. Like, and maybe you could argue with Star Wars there was way more potential because of how massive that universe is, and
Mhm.
maybe it's. I mean, this is a little more limited, and the concept is a little bit more straightforward. And we have all these extra, additional films that are way more films that are attached to it, and sequels and reboots and remakes and all this. Um, but it's like we had, the Force Awakens. We had kind of like, okay, this is solid, this is cool. I'm interested in seeing where this is going to go. We have this huge polarizing middle film where people are like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever, or people are like, this is garbage, what is going
Yeah.
on? And then to make up for the kind of the divisive response to the second film, we do this weird rewriting and kind of like trying to shift things in the second film, but in
Yep.
the process it's like, what did you just do? Because now
Yep.
none of this makes any sense, and it ends off like, huh?
Yep.
So the progression of both are very
Uh-huh.
similar, and
Yep.
it's so weird because at least with Star Wars, it had the excuse technically of there being, one director here, a second director who said we're going to throw all these notes out, and then the director having to come back from the
Right.
first one to try to make
Fix
sense
it, to try to
somehow.
fix
Yeah,
it, yeah.
yeah, fix it. But here we had this. As far as I know, we had the same creative team throughout, but they feel like three completely different
They
films.
do. They really do.
It's odd. It's really bizarre.
I just I'm so baffled. It really it's so perplexing to me. And I remember, and I've mentioned this before to you, I think, and also to, just in my videos, but how David Gordon Green had specifically said that Michael was human. And then we see Kills, and you never know Michael was human. And then he does it again, but it's like he decides sometimes he's going to be human-ish, to the point that a kid can come and, well, he wasn't a kid, but some punk idiot can come and push him down and take his mask. Okay, but he's not human because he can survive this throat slash and then just about kill Laurie in the end. The writing was all over the place. And it just I just wonder how much creative input David Gordon Green really had in
Right.
Kills and Ends. I just wonder.
Yeah. It's very it's very bizarre. I also thought, eh, I was going to ask this. Oh, let me see.
I popped this back up again because I
Yeah,
wondered. I figured it might be something to talk about.
yeah. No, that's a good question. What do you think?
So what I think she just kept it kind of just as a reminder
Hmm.
of what she had survived. Some people said, "No, I don't think it was Michael that got. I think it was Corey that got chopped up in the thing." Like, no, dude, he was unmasked. You could tell it was Michael.
Yeah,
He
I think
didn't.
she
He's
can tell
dead.
I think we can tell the difference between him and someone who was clearly 60 in their 60s, and I mean,
It was.
she's looking at the man's face. But okay,
Yeah,
sure.
I know. It makes no sense. Whatever. Only real fans know Michael never dies.
Of
Didn't you
course,
know that? Okay,
exactly.
well, I guess that makes David Gordon Green not a real fan because he killed him.
Yeah,
He's dead.
yep.
You were getting ready to say something though, and I interrupted your thought
Oh
process.
no, no. My thought was, ironically enough, it's like this film needed more of Halloween Kills, and Halloween Kills needed more of this film. Halloween
Mm,
Kills
yeah,
needed more of a balance, and it needed a more somber tone instead of like the silliness and the goofiness
goofy,
and all that.
clowny.
It being
Hmm.
so over the top. Even if they wanted to make it a rampage of kills, just take that. One thing I did like about this film is that it felt a lot more like chill, kind of like the vibe of 1978 and 2018, where it's like things are happening, but it's not just like everything is just so overblown. So
Right.
it needed more of that. It needed to kind of like, and it needed that seriousness that this one had, because I don't remember seeing anything, except maybe like once or twice that was really comedic, or unintentionally comedic, if you will. And then this needed more of Michael, period, but then it also needed more of him, like where he's still the focus. And it's not like he had to be going super hard like he did in Kills. We have to find a way to, I guess, bring the story to a close without repeating the same beats each time. If we are going to jump, since we have jumped forward all these years, but it's like they both needed something that the other one lacked, and that's kind of what I felt.
Yeah. Like if you could take the best elements of all of them and do some sort of fan edit to close it out a little bit better, take away some of the stupid stuff that happened, like the killing all of those firefighters and killing the whole town mob, and include the part where he gets killed and all that. Leave out the whole Corey stuff because that was dumb. I feel like there are threads that you could take,
Right.
some positives that there were positives in here. It's not like I hated this movie from the moment it started. That's not true. But it lost me about a
Yeah.
third of the way or so in. So, but it's like it's weird because it's weird to say I liked how it ended, but I hated how they got there.
Right.
It just didn't feel fulfilling. And
No.
2018 did.
Yeah.
It just had that spark
Mhm.
for me, you know. And for a lot of people, for most people, because this was highly rated among both fans and critics alike.
Right.
They both rated it about the so I think critics, the aggregate score on Rotten Tomatoes was like 79%. That's really good
It is.
for a sequel, one of the one of the many sequels, but a sequel. And I think the fans rated it somewhere in the mid 70s, maybe.
Right.
That's pretty solid. People were happy with it.
Mhm.
And then you see the scores for both kills and ends, just they plummet. They plummet. It's still in the fresh territory for the fans, like 63 or something.
Really? I'm
Yeah,
surprised.
kills is, yeah, but for
Oh,
ends,
kills.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, kills. For ends, it's all they're both like it's negative territory, and people are proudly proclaiming that, oh, this is going to gain a cult following. It's underappreciated and it's going to be appreciated in a few years. I don't think so. I just don't think so. I don't know.
And it's interesting because now I'm saying, because I'm like, I feel like I understand the sentiment, but I think we're going overboard, by now using this film to say that, oh, maybe Halloween Resurrection wasn't that bad, or maybe Halloween 5 wasn't that bad. I'm like, are we going overboard here?
Yeah. Well, I have to say I do like Halloween 5 more than ends and kills.
Yeah.
I didn't like, where they veered with the psychic connection, but
Mhm.
so out of those 3, 4, 5, and 6, I think 4 was the best. And
Okay.
then of course I really liked H2O. I don't like the mask, but I liked the story.
That
And
mask.
they need to go back and they need to go fix that like they did with Terminator. They need to go fix that mask. Um but no, I really, yeah, Season of the Witch, like I said, that's gained more of a cult following because it's actually a very solid horror story.
Right.
And people understand that now. But if you want to say the same thing about Ends, oh, it's not bad. It's not a bad horror story. Okay, but it's not a standalone.
Right.
It's attached to these other things, and that's what makes it so disappointing and terrible. And
Exactly.
Chris, that's what I thought was going to happen. I did think they were going to kill each other. And I would have been, you know, if anything could piss me off more would be as if she died and he didn't.
Right.
I wanted her to live. You know, poor woman has suffered enough. She needs peace for the rest of her life. Oh, I felt like Hawkins was really underutilized. And what was weird also is that they see each other in the grocery store, and it's like they never saw each other in the 4 years in between. He didn't even know she was living with Allison, and with this, as much as they seem to know each other in 2018, all of a sudden they don't hardly know what's going on with each other in their lives, and that felt really weird.
I think that's another example of the quality writing that we got here.
The quality writing. This is
Yeah.
opposite day, isn't it? They never gave me lines because Michael Myers is Canadian. Okay.
There we go.
Got the mask. Yeah, the mask. The mask was, I like the mask. I like the new, like the 2018. I liked the kills mask. I like this mask. You know, I like the touches. I like that they had the, you know, the hole in the side from when she stabbed him with the knitting needle. I thought the mask was very well done. In the other Halloween movies, the masks to me, like in 2 and 4, 5, 6 and H2O, I don't think they look good.
Right.
But
and I'm assuming, and see, I would have now. See, I would have to, because I've seen, I've seen some really funny montages where they have, of course, every single mask from every single film, and I remember people responding to it and saying like, was Michael going through it for some of those years? Like, was Michael smoking crack this year? Like, was this like? Because some of those look like rough. I don't know. I don't know if there was some budget issues, but like you really put them next to each other. It's like, yeah, some things happen in between some of these films.
Yeah, it does make you wonder. Sorry, got that. Say hey, everybody. Oh, Tifa. Okay, you want me to watch her while you go pick up the pizza? Okay, sorry, we got some family stuff going on. I don't know if she jumps out of my lap. I'm not gonna get up and chase her. Okay, here you go. Okay, what were we? 2018 had some brutal kills. That's all you need. Kills and ends got up their asses trying to weave some sort of clever story from a single thread. Yeah, they went. So I really like what they were trying to demonstrate in 2018. Her trauma and how she was still scarred by it. And I thought that was handled extremely well. Right. She did such a good job. Like you could really just feel her devastation and she's just a mess. And then, like Simon says, like he says, they go off in these other sort of preachy sort of tangents in both movies, and it just didn't work. Yeah. It wasn't handled like they couldn't take this narrative, which the messaging, yeah, okay, I get what you're trying to say, but you didn't say it very well.
No.
So you need to just keep it simple. Go back to basics.
Yeah. And again, I'm going to rope in a surprising comparison. But you know that all these Disney like live action remakes we've gotten over the past, I don't know, decade at this point.
Oh, yes. I don't watch them.
Right. So ironically enough, you know, based on the animated films that I liked, there obviously were certain I was excited for more than others. But one I was not excited for was Cinderella, because it's like we have seen so many variations of this
Cinderella.
I mean, even I think people also don't realize some of these stories, whether it's Cinderella or fairy tales or a lot of literary stories, like some of those were even around back in like the silent era of films. Like I think there's a version of The Wizard of Oz that's like from like 1911. There's one before like the classic version. So there's
really?
Always, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But there are always these. There's some stories that are always going to get told over and over again. And you just see so many versions of them, literary, fairy tales, whatever. So for me, you know, I had seen the animated film. I had seen the Rodgers and Hammersteins with Brandy and Whitney Houston. I had seen Ever After, a Cinderella story. I'd seen the Hilary Duff version. I've seen so many.
Yeah, yeah.
the version on Once Upon a Time, the TV series. I've seen so many of these, so I was thinking like, how can we do this again? So I was not interested. I was not invested. But believe it or not, with all these films and all the stuff that they've done, some have been better than others. That arguably, and I still find it surprising to say it, but that is actually one of the best to me live action films that they've done. And it's because they stick to the tradition and the simplicity of the story,
Oh,
and then they just add a little dimension here. Like they don't, the prince and Cinderella, they don't just meet the ball. We see a little bit more about Lady Tremaine and her mindset and where she's coming from, her relationship, Ella's relationship with her mother before she passes. Like there are all these little pieces they kind of expand here, expand here, expand here, expand here. But the core nature of that story, whether people are a fan of it or not, it's there, but they give it a lot more depth. And just it works. It just works in a way that you wouldn't expect it to. Whereas we have all these other ones that are trying to remix and flip the story this way.
I'm trying to add sort of like modern, like sort of narratives from today, kind of put those in. Yeah.
Yeah, do that or try to be edgy with
Hmm.
with how they change this, and or even if they don't make changes, like there's a very there or they take a cheap approach to it, or there's just all these different ways that they try to make it that don't work. And to me, Cinderella is just one where it's like you stuck to what the story was supposed to be about, but you added enough to it to where it didn't maybe some of the issues with the original story, with the prince and Cinderella not knowing each other, not knowing enough about the stepmother, not seeing enough of her and her mother's relationship, not getting enough of her character, and all this other stuff. It adds to it, and the story now works, in this way. You still have the animated version, you still have these other versions. There's still something special about the way they chose to tell the story in its simplicity. And I think that's the issue here. It's like we have a
Hmm.
simplicity of the concept. You just have to now find a way to add something to it to where we're not seeing Michael Myers just kill people,
All the time. That gets old. I don't like that either. I like some more like this is why 2018 works so well for me because of them doing what you're talking about. They kept the basic story. They just show us more Laurie and what she's kind of dealt with and the ramifications of that, how it affected her personal life. But they don't go off the rails and try to do all this spicy stuff to it. And it worked. Just like Simon said, the hum Simon, you have a terrible name for me. It's just I keep thinking of the game every time I yeah, the hubris of thinking that they can improve upon classics. You don't necessarily need to try to, tailor it to fit modern day audiences. You can just you do stuff to give it more depth and oomph,
Yeah.
make it even better.
And that's why even like with certain I mean really a lot of series in general, but even when I think about certain sitcoms, I'm like the comedy it fits its era and it fits its time, and to bring it into today and to kind of rope in now we're talking about smartphones versus pagers, or we're talking about I don't know about kids and Twitter, or like to kind of rope in that stuff, and now it's reflective of today. I think that's why those shows, like I even think about a good example is the Golden Girls. The Golden Girls is just a timeless show, and granted, I recognize that they're not with us anymore, but like if they tried to do a new version of Golden Girls, it's like
Mm.
Golden Girls was very much of its time, and even within its comedy and the story, they were very. It's weird because it's like they were socially aware without trying to be. It's like they were very because it's interesting like how ahead of its time that show was, even with like these women being as old as they were, but them still dating and having these very frank conversations
Yeah,
about,
yeah.
sexuality and all that. I mean, I never realized that when I was younger, of course. And they talked about all kinds of things: getting older, Alzheimer's, dealing with grief, loss in marriage, or dealing with issues with children. Dealing with issues like with Medicare. I mean, not Medicare, but like the medical field and not all kinds of stuff they discussed. But it worked for that time and it worked within the framework of the story. But not to say that it couldn't work today, but it's just there's something about the writing and the type of people we had in place to tell those kind of stories. I think, unfortunately, although I'm sure there are quality writers out there, the people that get roped into some of these stories feel this pressure to, I don't know, tell these stories in a way that ironically detracts, from the impact of what the story should be,
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it's happening so much, and I don't know what it's going to take to kind of make them fix that and just get back to what actually works.
Mhm,
I I don't know if it's going to be the money that they lose because people just don't want to see it,
mhm,
or because it's rated so badly. And like Simon, like Simon tells us, um,
mhm, mhm,
like he tells us here, yeah, fans get attacked when
mhm,
they're not happy about the quality of something. They get attacked with these sorts of accusations, and it's
mhm,
just such a lazy way
mhm,
to approach the subject or the issue that people, well, they're just this or they're just that, and that's, and also a lot of the reason that we're left with the junk that we're left with today is because not only are they trying to a lot of times they seem to try to get a little bit activisty with their writing, but it's
mhm.
also very lazy writing.
Yes.
It's a very silly black and white way to look at people in the world, and that's not how people are. And so why do you expect that people are just going to flock to it like it's so great?
Mhm.
I I don't know.
Yeah.
I swear. Oh, he has a great video
Oh
on the
boy,
Golden Girls.
I can only imagine.
Everybody's everybody's thinking okay, you'll have to show it to us, Simon. You can
Yes.
either put it up in here or you can put it in the Discord and I'll share it with D. D's not in my Discord, but I can share it with them. Or you can put it up here. Either way, I wonder what this is about.
I know.
Now I'm curious. So
Um, oh, go ahead.
no, just sigh. I wanted this to be a happy conversation.
I know.
Some people are cute. You just didn't want to like it from the start. No, please, come on.
Of course.
Stop.
That's the other thing. It's just like, how are
Yeah.
you going to tell me that I went into, well, one, how are you going to tell me what was in my brain when I went to go
They
see
think
this?
they know. They think they
Yeah,
know.
yeah, it's like, oh, you went in like that's not how that works. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Also, the other side of the coin, and you did such a great job. I loved that conversation we had when you were on. I think it was just you on live, and then I was just kind of throwing a bunch of stuff in the in the chat.
Oh boy, yeah,
But
you with those questions. Do you
yeah,
with
it's
those
always
probing, interesting questions. Okay, so go ahead.
fun. But you were basically saying, and I don't know, I think it was kind of a similar conversation as far as what we were kind of just talking about. But I was telling you that people were attributing the success of Top Gun Maverick to the fact that it is a symbol of anti
It's
WO
anti, yeah, anti woke. Yeah.
privacy, and you were like, but not that has nothing to do with how this story worked or why it's popular. Granted, it's not. It has none of the issues of some of these, films that do have that kind of writing. But you were like, it has nothing to do with that. It is simply a solid story. It is
Yeah.
well written, and you could tell that the filmmakers, Tom Cruise and whoever else, cared about like really taking this story 30 years later and making it work. They weren't even thinking to actively go against whatever you think that kind of writing is. It's just simply they cared about telling the story, and they did it in a honest way, in a way that had depth and just was really engaging. And then the filmmaking just kind of went along with the rest of that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's as simple as that. I don't understand why this is so difficult for I really don't get it. If you want to drive people to the theater, you tell a solid story and you tell something, and if you want to make a gazillion dollars, you tell something that's going to appeal to people across the board. It's really easy. Now, yeah, I know. So, like horror movies, they have their specific audience. Not
Yeah,
everybody likes that. But you know what I mean? Like in the
yeah,
case of Top Gun Maverick, this appealed to many people. This appealed to women, it appealed to men, it appealed to people of all different sorts of
mhm,
nationalities or
mhm.
ethnicities or whatever, because it's just a good story.
Yeah. And
Just
what's
do
funny,
that.
yeah, I agree. And it's funny because it's not even like it had a huge, in my opinion, it's not even like it had a huge, it didn't have the, like how some films, because they're classics, they have a huge, huge, huge audience, like with
Mhm.
the Disney films, or I'm trying to think of some other classic films. But, there are just some, like if we were to do a sequel, or if we were to do, like a sequel, however many years later, there's a huge built in audience for it. You could argue that Top Gun didn't really have a huge one. Um, because I think you and I both said when we saw the trailer, we were just kind of like, okay. And I think
Mm,
good amount of people, they probably like, okay, I kind of remember that film, but why are we doing a sequel to this?
yeah.
So it kind of was, in theory, it was kind of at a disadvantage. Um, so it's all the more, it speaks to its success, that, I mean, it's done so well, but that they were able to, in spite of, I think that there are people, even beyond you and I, who probably literally probably had no interest at all, and then were really
Mhm.
blown, and never saw the first one, and it's
Yeah.
like, wow, this is just like a really great film. That's what I'm saying. It goes beyond a lot of things that people might be trying to attach to it, but it comes down to what is the foundation of the story? How are we telling that story? And like how are we how are we really making sure our execution is on point for all of this? Like, because Maverick is like, I laughed, I cried, I cheered. It's like the quintessential film experience. And there are so many
Yeah.
films, I mean, not as many now, but there are a lot of films I think we probably grew up with where it's like, whew, like you walk out of it and you feel like, it just makes you feel, and as corny as it sounds, it's one of those films that hopefully maybe makes you feel better about the world, or just makes you feel better kind of walk.
People in general.
Yeah, it's like, okay, it's just, there are some films that can kind of, in the same way that Halloween Ends may have ruined your weekend. But it's the kind of film where you're like, it kind of gives you a renewed sense of like, I feel good. And
Yeah.
even though it's just a film, it's good to have a film that can kind of change your outlook like that. And I love that kind of experience because it's actually kind of rare. Not every film can kind of hit you like that. So
No, that's true. It is rare, and I love it when it happens, though. It just see, we're talking about Top Gun, and I wanna go see it again.
yep.
I still gotta talk my folks into it.
Yeah.
It needs to be no, it's just terrible to say. It needs to beat Halloween 2018. It needs to beat it for times
Oh,
I've seen on the big screen. Yeah.
exactly. Do you know which one you would prefer to win? Is that the one you prefer? Or is it hard to say?
That's tough because see, Halloween 78 and Halloween 2018 are in my top 10. They're like right together. It's
Yeah.
like one holds a certain spot and then the other one I cheated and I gave it like let's say Halloween is 5,
Yeah.
pretend, I can't even remember. But then I gave Halloween 2018 5.5
Yeah.
because I can't really separate them. Same thing with the Terminator and Terminator 2, even though
Yeah.
T2 is absolutely my top.
Yeah.
But that's tough. Probably okay, just because of the cinematography would probably be Top Gun
Yeah.
because it's so fantastic on the large
Yeah.
screen. And just you feel like you're just right there and those jets and the engines and the stunt work of the planes, it just and I'm not into planes and I'm not
Right.
into Top Gun at all, but it was just it's I feel like movies like that are just incredibly rare. It's just hard to capture
Yeah.
that sort of essence in most movies,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Um, and and it's something very satisfying about it. And I think I don't know if that was on the watch party. We just talked about this, but I think
We
I
did. I
said
think it
that,
was the watch party.
yeah. But very interesting choice.
Are you maybe thinking about the love interest from the original?
Because I
I
think that was
wonder.
Kelly McGillis.
That
I
was
think.
Kelly McGillis, yeah.
Yeah. Um, but but I was saying like a good another part of why it works is because it takes a world that some of us know nothing about, didn't grow up understanding.
Mhm.
I think we know what the military is. I think we hear the terms Air Force, Navy, and all of that. But we have a limited exposure to that. We only know but so much about it, and to have a film that not only brings you into that world but really makes you appreciate it, and like having I mean, and like I said, it's not like I ever thought like the Air Force, who needs that? I never thought that.
It's the
But
Navy. Get it right, D.
oh, is it?
Yes. He's a
Ooh,
Navy pilot.
ooh, okay.
No, it's an easy I used to think Air Force too, but yeah, no, it's Navy.
Okay, maybe.
Sorry.
Okay,
I
okay.
interrupted your flow.
No, you're fine because I mean, see, and see, that's a good example of what I'm talking about. Like my exposure is limited, so I hear the terms, but I don't always know how to distinguish them. So Navy
Yeah.
and Air Force are two different.
They're two separate. Yeah, I didn't realize that either. But yeah, so the Navy has pilots as well,
Okay,
which is
right,
like you would be like, why can't you just include that as just part of the Air Force? Because that makes the most sense.
right. Yeah,
But
and see, I made that. What's that word? And I see Chris's comment now, so I get that now. But I guess I made because the emphasis is so much on the pilots and the flying. I assumed it was specifically about that.
uh
Um, but yeah, but no, but with the Navy, it really gives me a peek into that world and an understanding and a real appreciation um, of what makes what really encompasses that everything about that in a way I might not have had I not seen the film. And so
right.
that's another thing. Like so you can also it's great when a film can also teach you something and help you learn, even though that's not the goal. It's not being preachy in the way it's like, hey, this is the world we're in, and this is what makes this is what it's made up of, and this is what we go through, and this is like what our goal is at the end of the day. So I also appreciated all of that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't speak about it highly enough, and I was concerned a little bit, when I saw, "Oh, we've got a female pilot,"
Mhm.
'cause, "Oh, she's gonna be the best." But
Mhm.
it didn't happen, they all had something to learn from him because he
Yeah,
was the
they're
best.
all just part of the team. Mhm.
Yeah, and there was none of this sort of conflict about what someone's race was or what someone's gender was. There was none of that at all. And I really love that because it was just this is this goal we have. This is a mission we have to go on, and these are the things going on in mostly the lives of Maverick and Rooster.
Right.
It was about that, and the interactions and the friction that came about because of that. I love it, love it, love it.
Yes.
And I hate ends. I hate it.
Yeah. So like two completely different ends of the spectrum. Yeah.
Yeah, his performance in there was
Woo!
yeah,
Yeah.
that was very that was handled so well,
Yeah. And
I
and
thought.
I'll actually say that's probably a good example of where because this doesn't always work. You have to kind of be careful about how you do this. But that was a great example of taking a real life circumstance or kind of
Mhm.
taking in something that technically isn't a part of the story,
Right.
but pulling that in, and then it really gave a real emotional depth to that character and with the experience because it makes sense. You have people, and beyond, of course, just this subsect or the Navy and all that, but you have people in life that you have these experiences with when you're young, and the older they get, there are things that can befall them. And then now that we're at this age, we have to deal with the reality of life, and how that changes. And then that also adds to his mission, with these younger these younger members and all that kind of stuff. So that was a great example of where that can work. Because I do think it's possible, but it don't, there are only so many ways you can kind of do that without it feeling tacked on. But it did not feel like that when they did it.
Yeah, no, it everything it just felt natural. It flowed so well, and it was so solid, and I liked all the characters. I mean, in
Yes,
the end, I even liked the little asshole.
I know.
The what's his name? She kept calling him the wrong name. Hangman. She called him
Yeah,
Bagman at one person. At one
yeah,
point, she called him Bagman or something. Yeah, it was
yeah.
funny.
Because he came through in the end as well. It was
He
like, oh,
did.
it was great.
Did you see he's in another movie about flying planes?
Yeah, I can't. It starts with the D.
Devotion.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it's almost like not literally the same movie, but it's almost like in theory, kind of the same movie.
Has that
Just
same sort of feel. Yeah,
yeah.
except takes place in the Korean War. I don't know if I want to see that because I understand it's based on a true story and I'm afraid they might get killed.
Oh, I know.
So I don't know. I hate to get so emotionally invested in characters and then for them to die.
Yes.
I can't stand it. So especially if it's a true story where you know that a lot of times the ending it can be tragic, especially when it comes to war.
Yes.
But so I don't know. I
I
feel
know.
like maybe I'll look it up and find out if they're still alive or if they live to be a ripe old age, and then maybe I'll go see it.
Right. Exactly.
We'll
Um,
see. He wouldn't be terrifying at all, Simon. He's too short.
oh, he's very short.
Except he can run fast. So,
Yes, he can.
but have
Yeah.
you noticed sometimes Michael kind of shambles along really slowly? He takes his time, and then other times he's like a young whippersnapper.
Right.
He just can fly.
I think I don't think I ever got to. I don't think I ever mentioned this in the watch party, but what you said about getting really invested in characters, and then you get so invested that you get really upset when something goes awry. So I mentioned the Invisible Man, but I forgot to actually make my point.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We had started talking about it, and then we got veered off because of how crazy the world got and
Yeah,
the negative
exactly.
frame of mind and all this stuff. Okay,
Right.
so yeah.
But I forgot to say that that scene in the restaurant when she's talking to her sister.
Oh, yeah, and she's, like, acting like a little crazy person.
Yeah, and then and then her sister's listening to her, and you
Isn't that when
kind
he
of get
kill
the sense that okay, now she's gonna listen, and maybe they'll figure something out. And then her sister looks up, and she sees something next to her, next to her head, and it's a knife.
Yeah,
And but literally before I'm like, before I could get the word out, that happened.
yes.
I was like, when I tell you, I was like,
Oh, no.
I was like, "Are you?" Because at that
Oh,
point, he's kind of, she's been alienated from his sister. So I really felt like maybe there's some hope here, and maybe whether she really believes her, maybe they can form something and they can figure this out together. But when that happened,
oh, yeah.
it was like, now what? And the
What's gonna
thing is,
happen now? Nobody's gonna she's definitely gonna be committed.
right?
They're gonna think she killed her.
Yeah. I literally like slumped down in my seat, like, oh.
Oh, jeez.
It took me a minute. So yeah, so that's a good example where it was like I really because because they make it so it's obviously so dire and it's a very helpless situation, especially when someone questions their sanity. And this man has done whatever he can to try to kind of create these wedges between her and all these other people. And so I thought we were on the up and up, and I don't know if that was the climax of the film, but it almost felt like it was. And I'm thinking we're gonna
No, I
start.
don't think so. I think the climax of the no, I don't think that was the climax of the film.
Mhm.
Maybe midway?
You know what? Well, that's what I mean. Like, not the because I
Oh,
don't.
oh, you don't mean the actual, like, the final climax. You meant like
Yeah, yeah, like
okay.
it was midpoint. Yeah,
Okay.
it felt like it was kind of in the middle, and then we go down into some of that other stuff that happens. Unless that was that whole sequence, because I feel like there was a point in between there before she ends up in the but maybe the rest of it is
In
just
the
her.
institution. I honestly don't I feel like I need to rewatch that movie because, maybe I would appreciate it more.
Mhm.
Because I just wasn't in the right frame of mind when I saw it. But it's not that it's a bad movie, but I remember leaving a review for it and I was kind of like, meh, I just
Right.
didn't feel it.
Yeah.
But I think it was just all
Yeah.
timing. The timing was wrong. But yeah, to get invested. So this is why I don't like No Country for Old Men.
Uh-oh.
One of the reasons I don't like that movie.
Is there a specific scene? Oh, it's because something.
Yeah, when the thing with Josh
Oh,
Brolin happened, well, crap. What was the point? What
okay.
was the point?
Yeah. So I still
And
have to watch it. I won't. It didn't ruin anything, but I have to watch it
oh, okay.
and
You haven't seen it?
because
I'm
I
sorry.
no, you're fine. No, you're okay. Because I won't. I
Oh,
won't be
because I
doing.
almost said something else. I won't say
Yeah, that's what I
anything.
was saying. I had to get you before you said anything.
Oh my gosh. I just assume you've seen all the movies, D.
That's the problem because I've seen a lot, but it's like, and I think you relate to, you understand this too. It's just like there are some films for whatever reason, even as people who kind of go to the theater regularly, there are just some that fall off the radar, or
Yeah.
it just so happens when you're trying to catch it, but then other stuff comes up. Yeah, it's just like it's one of those that I want to say, did that come out in like late? I mean,
Oof.
not late, but kind of like the late 2000s. Like,
Maybe.
yeah,
Was it I can't was it in one of the years you've already talked about, or is it maybe in an upcoming year?
mhm.
Chris says you have homework to do.
Yes, I do.
I don't
Yes,
remember if it's like 2009.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I feel like it's like towards the end, and that was before. That was, I think that was like, I don't know if that was that was like, that was early college. So that was before I could even get off the campus to actually go to the theater,
Uh,
and I had gotten into my flow of going to the theater
oh,
solo. And
it's 2007.
2007. Oh, then I think I might have been in high school at that point. It was either high school or early college at that
You were
point.
still just a baby?
Yeah. So it definitely, I wouldn't have had the chance to see that, because at that point,
Okay.
it was still, my mom and I would go, or occasionally I might go with a friend, but most of the time I would kind of go with my mom, and so it's kind of like, kind of, it would kind of be based. At that point, I wasn't used to just venturing off and watching random movies. It would just kind of be like certain ones we'd see advertised
Together,
and
yeah.
check it out. But in No Country for Old Men, it probably wouldn't have been something that we would have thought to see at the time. Although I did watch Even a Roper, and I remember them saying some stuff about it, but I didn't necessarily have the access that I have now, so I can
Oh, okay.
watch it now. But yeah,
Yeah, I didn't watch that one on the I watched it with a friend of mine. We saw it here at my house, and
mhm,
the main reason I was interested was because, well, the premise looked interesting,
mhm,
and I had been hearing all of this great stuff about Javier Bardem's performance.
mhm.
And yeah, his performance was great, but just the stuff and then some stuff at the end, and I was just like, "Yeah, don't like it, hate it, don't like it." I'm not gonna read the book now.
Right, exactly.
So so I don't know, but we kind of veered off, but
Yeah,
just talking about, that like being invested in characters, and that's one of the reasons why I did not want Laurie to die. And I was very afraid that the writers were just going to take the very predictable route of perhaps killing her and Michael together. What, Tibby? Oh my gosh, these dogs. Uh, I think Daddy's home, so she knows she's going to get a treat, so she's all excited. I was afraid they were going to take the predictable route of
right.
killing them both,
Mhm.
because they sort of make you feel like, especially Laurie, she's like, maybe if I die, he'll die, So I was like, oh, they're trying to set us up
Right.
for both of them killing each other.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so in a sense, they subverted my expectations,
True.
but I would have been seriously pissed because, yeah, no, I definitely would have been so much more angry. It would have made me angry. The most angry I would have been, like I've already said, is if he lived and she died. Then the next level of anger would be as if they both died. But if it had been oh, I can't even talk. If it had been well written, I could accept an ending like that.
Right.
I wouldn't have been happy, but I could accept it. Kind of
Yeah.
like, Gladiator. At the end of Gladiator. Oh, have you seen that? Please tell me you've seen that.
Yeah.
Okay. And so at the end of Gladiator, you're not necessarily happy that this thing happened to him, but it makes sense, and because it's such a solid story,
Right.
you can go with it. And it wouldn't have a happy ending wouldn't have felt right.
Right.
So so there are times where I don't mind it when a character I've grown attached to passes away, but the writing has to be really stellar, and it
Yeah.
has to make sense.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
agree.
just I hate it that I I just hate all these stupid conflicting feelings I have about how this movie went. Yeah, it really has. Like, I haven't been stomping around, majorly pissed, but I've been in a funky foul mood. I really have been.
Right.
Wake up in the middle of the night, whatever, roll over. God damn it. And, this shouldn't affect me so much, but it does, because this has kind of been sort of a very, I don't know about influential, but it's this movie, this character has
Mhm.
had such an impact on me in a sense because of how scarred it made me and all of that stuff.
Mhm.
I just wanted this wonderful conclusion to everything, and it
Right.
feels almost like a letdown, and it's weird to say. I'm
Mhm.
almost sad Michael's dead, even though I wanted him to be dead.
Right.
Isn't that weird? That makes no sense at all. But I think it's just because of how bungled they did it.
Yeah.
It's just it felt like the way it was done was just kinda just slapsticky together, and it just didn't work.
Question. What would you say was the messier conclusion? This or Jurassic World Dominion?
Oh god. Jeez. How the hell did that movie even end? How did that one even end? I don't even remember. It was terrible.
Oof.
It was so bad.
That's what I'm saying. And I actually I kind of drew a comparison to that one as well, where it's like we and in the journey there. Well, I'm trying to think. Is it well? I was gonna say, technically speaking, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, and then this. Yeah, it's a similar kind of trilogy journey as well.
Yeah, right where it gets started and it's pretty solid, and then the second movie not so much, and then the
Mhm.
third movie like, "Bleh, why did you even?
Right.
Why did you even?"
Then we bring back. It's like we then. I'm gonna say. Oh, yeah. Well, the exception would probably be Halloween. In because I don't think they brought back anybody else that we hadn't already seen.
You
But
mean
with
in you
huh?
mean from Kills? Wait. Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking about the direct.
Yeah, because I know because like with what was it, Rise of Skywalker, they
I
brought
don't think
back
they did.
a couple of characters we hadn't seen at that point to close things out, and then with Dominion, they brought back the original.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. And then with Dominion, they brought back all the, like the originals to
Right,
go
yeah.
check it
Yeah.
out. So like there was no one else that I can think of that they like brought back that we hadn't already seen, like in Kills. Because I can't think of anybody else. But as far as just kind of like the 1, 2, 3, and just the general ending being kind of a disaster, they all kind of have that in common. Although I would say between if I had to pluck one out of the three, I'd probably have to go with Dominion. It was a mess, but I like the fact that Jeff Goldblum was there because I like
And
Jeff
they
Goldblum.
made good use of the original characters. I thought they were kinda gonna skimp on them,
Right,
kinda just sort of, "Oh, here's your 5 minutes of screen time."
right,
So I was happy about that, but I don't know. Yeah, you're right, Chris, it did. It made a crap ton of money. I don't know how in the world, but it did.
yeah,
There was something yeah, Chris had said this, "Even a satisfying ending doesn't save this movie." That's true.
yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's a weird my son asked me when I got out of the theater, I chased him down wherever he was in he was cleaning one of the theaters and because he wanted to know how it
Right.
was. And I was approaching the theater where he was, and one of his coworkers said, "Well, did you like it?" I said, "Nope." And my son heard me. So then the main thing he wanted to know was, "Well, does she live or die?"
Right.
So I was like, "No, she lives, but
Yeah.
you're gonna see. You just wait." I don't know. I haven't decided whether I'm gonna watch it again. I feel like no, I don't think I should get. I don't think watching it again is going to improve the situation. I really don't. In answer to this, Simon, no, I haven't yet. I forgot. Dang it, I forgot. I'll try to remember to do that. And then Simon has a good question.
Yes.
The greatest trilogy of all time, in your opinions?
This I can think of I can probably search my brain to think of a better. Well, okay. So one, these are both obvious ones. So I would say the original Star Wars trilogy and Toy Story.
Okay. See. I forgot about. I wasn't even thinking about those. Phew, right over my head. Uh,
Because those are the as far as like pretty much each one is solid. People make
solid,
yeah. Because
solid.
most
Yeah.
of them's like they fumbled the ball somewhere. I'm trying to think of. I know there's another one. I have to think about it.
Well, I was thinking about the Nolan Batman trilogy.
Oh, there we go.
That comes pretty close. I mean, Batman, the Dark Knight Rises, that's the weaker of the three, but and there's definitely that one kind of was a little bit of a mess in different ways, but I loved the performance of Tom Hardy,
Yes.
and I liked the storyline, even though sometimes it felt a little bit, I don't know, a little bit rushed in some ways. But it's not, when I think of the Dark Knight trilogy, I'm not like, oh, it's
Right.
ruined by this one movie.
Exactly.
But I don't know if I could classify it as the greatest. I don't know. Because not even Terminator has a great trilogy
No,
of
it doesn't.
films.
Um, oh, and I literally was gonna say it, and then Chris ended up saying it, but I was gonna say the newest Planet of the Apes trilogy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I just now say, yeah, that's true. Yes. That one, that's solid all the way through all of those films.
Yes.
Did you see they're gonna make some more?
I did.
I know.
Did. It's not like it can't work because again, it's an interesting franchise, but it's another one of those. Are we squeezing coins out of this franchise because we can? And the thing is, what made Planet of the Apes work is that I mean, there's a lot that made it work, but it took, of course, the original concept. It did bring it into the present day, but it was like, what would this look like from the perspective of these apes? They kind of started off with the human ape connection, and then they
Mhm.
deviate. They kind of, okay, now it's about of them, and it's like, how would this shape the world? If this happened, and like it felt like there was something so intense and so grounded about the story. Like I will never forget because I think even when I saw the trailer for Rise of Planet of the Apes, I was like, oh, this looks fine. But I was like, it also looked like it might be silly. And so I remember I was in the theater. It was like $1 theater. My friends and I went to, and that scene where it's the I can't remember his character's name in the film, but the actor who plays Malfoy in the Harry
Oh,
Potter.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that guy. Yeah.
yeah. And so he goes
Tom
in.
Felton, but I don't remember his
Yeah,
character's
Tom
name anyway.
Felton. He goes in, he's trying to like restrain Caesar and trying to get him to follow his orders, and so eventually Caesar just leaps up and grabs him, and he says, let go of me, you dang dirty ape. And then Caesar just goes, no. And I it was total silence in the like in the theater, and then once he and like hits him, everybody like cheered. It was just like
Oh, yeah, yeah,
it
yeah,
was like, there's some moments you have in the theater where, the audience is just like, whoa. And from then
right.
on, I was like, whoa. That was because like I said, up until then, I was like, okay, I'm not sure how this is gonna go. But that's when I knew, okay, I think we're good. Because and then from then on, we just had so many great, it just got better and better. So yeah. The only thing that was rough about the third one is that it got a little depressing with what Caesar and the apes went through. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it
Pathetic.
did. Wow, I
But
mean, tearjerker at the end
yes,
with Caesar, with Andy Serkis's acting. Oh my gosh. The
yeah.
heck? Sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. But they brought it around to the end. I didn't think they didn't have to leave off on that last shot. We could have figured something else out. I get it. It's like, look, we fought the battle. I see my community is thriving. I'm tired. I got
Yeah,
I
he's
get it.
ready to
Like
go.
they wanted him to be able to enjoy more of that. So yeah. So it was a rough one, but all three of them were good.
Yeah, they were. It doesn't happen often. And Derek just messaged me. He
Mhm.
thought we were doing it Monday.
Oh,
Oh no. Because I remember we were going back and forth between like Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, and I'm going back to see if I wrote the wrong word,
mhm.
but I'm pretty sure because I remember we were talking about Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh dang, let me go back. Sorry, I'm trying to. Now this is gonna bug me. Did I write the wrong word? Shit. Yeah, he said he had it in his head. I'm sorry. I'm talking to him through this. Yeah, he had it in his head. It was tomorrow. Dang.
Okay. Gotcha.
Sorry, Derek. Hold on, D. I'm gonna write this message to Derek.
No, you're okay. You're okay. But yeah, Chris, that was the moment for me. I was like, we are good to go from here. Yeah, and there were so many great moments in the second and the third. I'm trying to think of another one. Um, Ooh, and then when he says, when he tells another name I can't remember, but it's Jane Franco's character, and he tells him, that, he's like, "I'm here to take you home," and he's like, "I am home."
Oh, yeah.
It's like, yeah, you can go. Bye. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I think it was I'm trying to remember if it was the first or the second one we saw in California. When did the first one come out? Was it 2011?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one we saw. We were in California at one of my brother's weddings,
Hmm.
and, that was when we went to go see that. I think that was the same weekend that maybe Conan came out? The new Conan with
Oh,
Jason Momoa?
yeah. Did you see that?
No, I never did. I started watching it, and I just kinda I don't know, it didn't work for me, so I didn't watch the whole thing. The stamp of a good movie is when you talk about it exclusively during a scheduled discussion.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't talked about Halloween exclusive. Okay, Derek says he's gonna hop on. I know he wants to rant
Yeah.
because we've been talking now you kind of withheld your opinion from me until this stream. You were like
Perfect.
trying to sort of tease me a little bit. You're like, I may or may not agree with you.
Right.
Did
Exactly.
you know that that's what my no was about on Twitter?
Absolutely. Like there was just no like I don't like I said, I had no technical way of knowing, but when I saw it, I was like, this is about Halloween. It couldn't be about anything else. There was no context, but I just something deep down, I was like, this is about Halloween.
I know, and I don't usually I'm not one for, vague posting like people do, but I was
Right.
just I was watching it. I was in the middle of watching it, and I was thinking, yeah, I just nope,
Yeah.
not working for me. And so I got to rant about this. I'm so upset. I want to rant about this. So the extent of my ranting was to go on Twitter and say no.
Yeah. And see, I did the same thing when I saw Nope. I posted all these vague things. I'm
Oh,
gonna do stories.
did you?
And then I posted, I can't remember what that's from, but it's that clip where the guy is like slapping everyone at this backyard barbecue. And I was just like, this is how I wanted. This is what needs to happen to the cast and crew. And it's like the guy, he's like slapping his friend, of slap, slap, slap. He slaps all his like. It's just constant. I was so mad at that point.
Oh, I'm sorry
I'm,
you didn't enjoy it.
now I feel a little bit better about it, kind of after the fact. During, it's just that whew, I just had a different expectation personally. I do like, and I said this in my review. Like, I'm glad that people are, enjoying it and are finding the meaning
Yeah.
of it. It's just that, and I think sometimes it's because you become. I don't even want to say it's because of his first two films, because I expect that he's going to do something different every single time. But
Right.
it's just that maybe I wanted something else, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
than what it was. I don't think it was a bad film at all. It's just that to me, given his standard, I think I wanted more just as far as the dynamics. Because when we got that scene with Gordy, um, that for me, and granted, I'm not saying the whole film had to be about that, but there was a certain level of tension and investment I had
That was the
there.
most tense scene out of them all, and yet that backstory felt so irrelevant
Yeah,
to the
and
overall story. Like, it felt like it didn't need to be there, yet that was the most captivating scene.
right,
Isn't that
and
weird?
yeah, and I've seen the explanations where it was like that was his. That's the reason why he felt the need to try to tame the alien, or felt like he had formed a relationship
Yeah.
with it. And I get that, but it still seems, to me, it seems a little nonsensical that you would think that you would have the control to be able to make a connection with whatever this thing is, even based off of that. It just, to me, that's what I'm saying. I get having depth to a story and trying to kind of be kind of clever, or like, this is what this means, but sometimes that works and then sometimes it doesn't. And for me, that you have to believe. For me, I would have to believe a person with rationale, even with that experience, would feel the need that they can tame an alien or can
Right, right.
forge a relationship with an alien. For me, I'm like, that just didn't click for me.
Yeah. No, I get that completely. I do think that storyline, that part of it, was unnecessary. I would have rather them just focus on the brother and sister and their. I mean, I don't know. I was happy with it. I think out of all of those movies, I preferred Us the most.
Mhm.
Hey, Derek.
Hi.
I'm so sorry. I don't think I mistyped. I'm pretty sure
No.
I had said something. Oh, okay. All right. Because I would had a heart attack. I was just like, did I say it wrong? I was going to
No, I
answer
had
Simon's question here really quick. No, that's not when I wrote that, when I tweeted that out. I was talking about how I was so upset about Halloween that at some point during the film, I just went on Twitter and I just wrote no. That's
Mhm.
all I wrote. Just no. It was after that, Simon, but yeah, very frustrating.
You know what
So
movie it was?
honestly don't remember. Um it might have been around the time where they were killing the doctor and his mistress.
Oh,
Might
yeah,
have been. I just like
yeah. No.
oh, it's just this movie is just not working. Dee was trying to tease me a little bit and act like there was just so much depth to this movie, and I just was missing the whole point. And I
And
just have too much emotion. But no, he hates it equally, I think.
Oh, so we're all on the same page again.
Again,
That we're
and I
okay.
was hoping it would be so different, Derek. I was hoping it would be happy.
Oh, it was
did you
different. It was very different. But it's my first thought coming out there is like, if if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's like this is just one of those things. It's like you don't need to change it just for the sake of change. And I see. That's sorry. Going back a second, the reason I was late to this, I thought it was Monday. Sorry, I'm getting Alzheimer's or old age, old man stuff going on here. I had it in my head, so I went and just saw it. I just literally got back from seeing it again because I wanted to
Oh, that's right.
solidify my
Yeah.
views. Because if I see something and I don't like it, maybe I think, well, maybe I'm gonna fester on it for a day or two or a year, I don't know, and I'll just go re-see it and appreciate maybe something I didn't see, or maybe I'll see it in a new light. I always give a film a second chance if I didn't like
Yeah.
it. And to be honest, I did see a couple more things. I went in now knowing what it was. I appreciated a few more aspects of it, but I think I actually came out disliking it even more the
Oof.
second time.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
maybe that one kind of backfired on me. But I'm a film optimist. I tend to see the good in everything. I'll find things I like about a film.
Yeah.
But this one, I don't like. You know, I don't. Sorry, I don't know what you guys have already discussed because I dropped the ball here and I apologize. I
Oh,
just
no, that's okay. I'm sorry. I should have maybe like touched base with you last night or something just to say, "Oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow," or something like that, but I I didn't either. I was busy and
I shoulder the blame on that one. I apologize, guys. That was me
yeah, well,
here.
I was starting to get a little so I was getting a little concerned because you weren't like so this thing happened with D. This thing happened with D. We were going to have a watch. We were going to watch Halloween Kills so we could laugh about it, just tear it apart again.
Yeah.
And he didn't show up and he didn't show up and I was getting worried. I was start like the mother in me starts to be like, I hope he didn't get in a car wreck or something. I mean, I think about these things. But so I'm just glad you're okay because I
Oh,
was starting to get a little concerned, but I was let me address this, Simon. Simon, I detected where I thought it was heading with the pumpkins in the very beginning. And then it was solidified when Michael and Corey met and they had the soul gaze. Then I knew that's where it was headed. But I was already suspicious at the beginning with the pumpkins, the new pumpkins coming.
did you pick up on the just from the title credits aside the pumpkins that they use the blue font
I
and
noticed the font right
okay,
away, but I didn't realize I had forgotten it was the same font from Halloween 3.
3. So that was kind of a tip off. You're going in a different direction here. Um,
Yeah.
but my whole thing, we're spoilering this one, right?
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
this is
Okay,
full of spoilers. Hate on
okay,
it all you
okay,
want.
okay. So my thought here, one I just had was this like what happened with the radio tower? Do you remember David Gordon Green talking about how that was going to be a integral part of the ending originally? Do you remember that?
I don't remember him talking about that.
Okay. Maybe that was one of the original endings that he maybe shot many of. But
Oh,
I gotta say, man, like going out of this thing, I'm starting to think that this guy, this David Gordon Green guy, and Jamie Lee Curtis and Danny McBride, they really are not as well revered as we've given them a lot of credit for coming out of the gate with 18 being so great, pretty good, being a good film. And then Kills seemed like there were a lot of missteps, and then now seeing how they really just like ends felt like they had no freaking clue what the hell they wanted to do with that film, let alone the whole franchise, the whole trilogy they're doing. I really think that they're not. We've given them way too much credit for being competent filmmakers here. I think they really just, I don't know how many bad things I can say about Ends, but my hurt is sincere. So when you said I was okay coming home, I really wasn't.
No, I was talking about the same thing, Derek. I was saying I'm exaggerating a tad when I say I've been in a foul mood since I saw it. Like not to people and towards people, but I've just been kind of just, how you have this feeling of just like angst and like this cloud is over you when you're just like feeling kind of down and annoyed. Yeah, I have been ever since Thursday.
Yeah.
It was such a huge disappointment.
Yeah. And it just, and what's really, I'm sorry, I'm still articulating emotions here. Hey, did you notice the whole marketing in the trailer? Everything about that film, they kept the whole Corey subplot. Like the guy was, they showed a couple clips of him, but he could have just been random John Doe getting his neck broke for all we knew. They purposely kept all of that hidden. And I think it tested so poorly, so badly, that people just really, the studio intervened and said, okay, guys, we need to get a different marketing thing. We can't schedule this as two Michael Myers or an imposter. So we're purposely going to make a 2-minute trailer based totally on 4 minutes of the whole freaking film.
Yeah. It felt misleading on it. I noticed that also. That I was telling Dee that there was a scene that shows up in the teaser where she's standing like against the wall or something, and then Michael steps out to the side. That was never in the movie. Mm-hmm. And the way I was also telling him how in the teaser, when I first watched it and I did a reaction to it, and Michael, it's supposed to be Michael walking up to the house and going into the room where Laurie's waiting with the gun. You're supposed to think it's Michael, obviously. Right. And I remember making a comment while I was watching it, was like, is this Allison in the mask? Because the breathing didn't sound like Michael's breathing. Well, little did I know, I was kind of right-ish. It was Corey.
Well, when I saw the trailer, the first thing I thought with my smart ass was like, oh, he grew his fingers back. And then I started reading little inklings of people. Oh, there's a Corey guy, this Corey character. He does a lot of killing with Michael, and you're kind of like, oh no,
no.
So
you knew this?
About.
You knew this ahead of time? You knew this before you saw it?
But but I take it with a grain of salt because the internet speculation is
Oh yeah, I tried not to watch. I tried to stay away. So I honestly had no clue. None. Okay.
Well, then you probably were severely disappointed. I was kind of in the back of my head, oh, it could be that, but I'm still, let's see what they do. They could still do. I mean, I liked Friday the 13th 5, A New Beginning, where Jason was only in it in a dream sequence. There was imposters, Roy, and they've tried this before. And I'm sure you guys have lamented this already, but can we just reiterate the fact that Michael gets bested by a 70-year-old woman? After, of course, he's 23 at this point, or 24.
Okay, so
the kid couldn't stand up to these little chumps in a high school marching band. These weren't even football player guys that maybe you're kind of like, oh, okay, well, maybe they're almost adults. They're probably pretty tough, maybe to a degree. But he couldn't even take on those 4 little chumps. And then he somehow gets the cojones to go down there and toss Michael around.
Yeah, I know.
Like, and then, but you're getting all these in your head, and then I'm reading these things where David Gordon Green again is sitting there. Oh well, Michael's really human. He's just got a resilience and a deep thirst to kill people. So that suddenly makes you bulletproof, I guess.
Neck slash proof. You can get your neck slashed and bleed all over, but you can still almost kill the woman standing beside you.
How the
Okay.
hell did he split his hand down the middle? So he's got basically, Captain Kirk, sorry, Live Long and Prospered here. That's the severed. He got 2 digits on each side, and he still was able to almost choke out Lori to the point that he's going to break her neck. And she's like, "Do it, do it."
I know.
And you're like,
It's lame. That was so lame.
yeah, you almost expected him to
I thought
sight
he used
his
his other
Activa or
hand,
whatever.
though. I thought he used his right hand to choke her.
I thought he ripped his hand right out and then put it up there because
Oh,
he
yeah,
had to
that's
dislodge his
true.
other
Yeah,
hand.
no, you're right. He did. He ripped his hand right out of the knife. She had
Mhm.
stabbed his hand, and he ripped it out. Oh my gosh! Look what Simon just said.
Corey Feldman. Ah.
Ah.
He's about the same height as Corey Feldman too. I can attest to that.
So, Derek.
Yeah.
I was telling Dee, I was with this movie, even though I was a little, like I said, the title, the intro sequence, the title with the pumpkins, that kind of made me a little, but I was with it all the way up until Michael first shows up, which is when he and Corey meet.
Yeah.
And then they have a soul gaze.
Yeah.
And then he lets Corey go. I was like, no.
Because I thought that was
yeah. I was like, nope, this is not going to work.
So
he
Michael does not take.
He let him go, yeah, because he
Right.
grabbed him and he took him into the sewers, dragged him in there. He had fallen off the bridge, and then Michael dragged him in, and instead of killing him like he does everybody else or tries to, they share this connection, and then he lets him go. That was the end for me. That was the end of ends for me.
Right.
This is not going to work.
Can I tell you a couple things that popped into my head, because I started seeing things. Okay, so you know how Halloween 4 did the thing where Michael, they did it, they went full bore with it, but then they abandoned it immediately the next film because they decided not to go that direction. But he transferred his evil into little Jamie Lloyd,
into the little girl, yeah.
Right. And so when they're doing that, I'm thinking, well, maybe that's what they're trying to go with here, even though it doesn't work because they never followed through with it. So you're like, so what is it? Did Michael somehow see all the torment and decide, oh, he's going to be my protege? You know what I mean? Like through some supernatural psychological connection, what have you. That popped into my head, and I'm like, oh, that looks like Halloween 4. But then I saw as the film progressed that they didn't go with that.
Yeah, route. No, he just somehow he just knew that Corey had the same darkness in him that even though he didn't, it wasn't even the same. They're two completely different people. And I was talking with Derek about how Corey's evolution, that made some sort of logical sense, even though the way they got there was really like he was abused. He had not a good home life with his mother and all of this. So you could see somebody like that snapping. But with Michael, it was just, so it wasn't the same sort of.
Well, was that like Corey? Then I started thinking about it later, and I was like, well, was that Corey's kind of just like his psychological break? Like everything that had happened to him is like flashing before his eye. That was just the tangible thing they had to present to the audience to know what's happening to him psychologically. He's having his break. That was the very moment he decided to basically switch gears. You know what I mean? To flip the switch.
To flip.
But then they never followed up on like that. It was just like a random scene, and you're just kind of like, okay, that's there, but what was the point of that? Like, I don't get it.
Well, in Wikipedia, the plot summary, I don't know who contributes that, but the plot summary does indicate the impression that I had gotten when I saw it is like, oh, he let him go because he can sense the same darkness. That's kind of what they say in the Wikipedia thing, that he sees that Corey has the same darkness in him and he decides to let him, which is just so totally out of character.
Right, because Michael kind of buddied up with him.
Yes, they had a killing party together.
Right, it was like Maniac Cop 2.
Tag team slashers.
Yeah, exactly. It was like the Babysitters Club, But,
oh my God.
But,
you know what? I thought Allison was going to be in on the killing of the doctor and the girlfriend. I was like, if that mask comes off and it's freaking Allison, because I was afraid, because I think by that point, maybe she had she said that line yet about let's burn it all down to Corey. And then she was all mad because the other girl got the promotion and she didn't. I was like, this is going to be Allison. I really thought Allison was
Yeah.
going to start acting like Michael Myers at some point.
I didn't feel that, but I could see. I don't know. It would be interesting if they shit, man. Anything's game in this, seeing how far they strayed from the plot, you know, or just whatever. What was it? Just like a they just had a bunch of like random plot points on a wall, and they just took out like spit wads and shot them at there, and just kind of pieced it together. Because it just there was no. I can't get. Okay, what happened to Halloween Kills? The ending, right? When all of a sudden they threw us for, well, they threw, you know, we've already ranted about that one, but he was just like basically, you know, supernatural out the gate. You know what I mean? He was superhuman, ripping those firemen to pieces.
Yeah, and kills, yeah.
Yeah, and they just kept escalating that. And then you got to the point where, you know, and then what? Lindsay Wallace cracks him with the bag of bricks in the face like twice, and he just barely even moves, you know. But clearly this guy's superhuman. They're establishing in that twist, you know. They're confirming it. And then obviously the ending where the mob took him down for like 30 seconds, and then he
jumps up and kills them all.
Yeah, wipes
while
them
they
out.
stand there waiting.
Yeah, that was the dumbest fucking thing.
Oh, it was terrible. You know, oh.
Right, but then he gets up there, he makes it back in record time while the fire department's still down there to kill Karen. And you're just kind of, you're rolling your eyes kind of, but you're like, okay, whatever. I'm just going for the ride. They're really testing me here.
This is like, this is the way those other older, those like, you know, 4, 5, and 6. It's like, okay, you're getting back to that formula. That's,
but then we know at least in those ones, we know zombie Jason is zombie Jason. There's no problem. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. They're not walking the line. Well, he's human. He can be hurt sometimes, but when it's convenient for the story, he can walk off 5 gunshots. You know, you're like, okay, dude, whatever.
And a knife into the lungs, and you know, the kick
Allison
of the head on the
3 times, and you just like it just keep racking. There were so many injuries he endured that you lost count of what he had really endured. Every time you watch it, you're like, oh, he got that one there, he got an iron there, he got a. Anyways, so back to I was going. So Halloween Kills ends promising like a showdown, especially if you watch the extended little add-on ending. They're promising a showdown. We saw,
yeah.
Right, and Laurie's going for, you know, Laurie's like, I'm coming for you, Michael. And that was really the only purposeful thing she did in the whole freaking movie of Kills, right? She was just like a footnote to give like she was basically the equivalent of Dr. Loomis. She popped up, she said something dramatic, gave exposition, then disappeared. And that was it. So her role in Kills is in hindsight, very weak. And so you're hoping that she's really going to up her game now because they're promising a showdown. And then all of a sudden they decide, we're not going to do that. We're going to give you this little Corey little bastard, and Laurie's going to be sitting at home talking about
making pies.
Right. That cringy. She's like, "Go show life your tits," and you're like, "What?" Okay, Mom. No, keep those rolled up. Okay, you know, no one wants to see them. Not now, anyways. You know, but you remember.
I know. I don't think they should have done the time jump.
Yeah.
I think that was a mistake.
Because it should have picked up again. How cool would that have been? 3 films over the course of one Halloween night.
Yeah, I could have bought that much more.
Yeah,
and just go with it that he's bulletproof. Okay, fine. They're going to really need to basically do what they did at the end and put him in a metal crusher, and which that was an awesome scene. I really thought that was pretty cool.
I thought the visual effects on that weren't great, but I
did like seeing his head pop open.
Yes, it was nasty. I did predict that was how he was going to die, even though technically he was dead before. But as soon as I was telling Dee, as soon as they focused on that in one of the early scenes, I was like, okay, this is going to be important, and this is probably where Michael's going to end up. But I was trying to think, how in the world would he end up on top of something like that and falling into it? Well, you know, it's because he was dead already, and they just threw him in.
And you know what was kind of irritating? Again, you know, sorry, this is kind of a random shot here. When Allison, the little thing with her muffler.
Yeah.
The little plot point with her muffler. And she goes, oh, my car's making a rattle. And he just goes, oh, it's just an exhaust clamp on a muffler. And you're like, what?
How did he know that? Without even looking at it.
When someone says, hey, my car's rattling, what does that mean? You're like, oh, I don't know, 1 of 2 million things, you know? So that was kind of right off the bat, I kind of rolled my eyes at that scene, but your average person may not, that might sound plausible to them, but to me, it was just like, oh.
It sort of halfway did, but just because I felt like I could, well, the cop had already said, we, the viewer, already knew it had something to do with her muffler, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
so I think I just kind of transferred that onto Corey, like that Corey should automatically know it too, even though he didn't know that that's what it was. He didn't know it was anything about the muffler,
Right.
right?
And they,
Or
well,
did she mention that to him
no,
specifically?
she just said there was a rattling, and
Oh
it
yeah.
just
And then he
reminded me of
just
when people.
magically knew what it was. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
that was
yeah.
just, they had to
Get
get together and bond somehow.
well, and okay, and then now that you mentioned the cop, did I find it really weird that she was dating some like 35-year-old kind of
He
goofy
looked like he
looking?
was quite a bit older, didn't he?
He looked
Yeah,
like
like
twice
40
her
years
age.
old. I meant to mention that actually. That's one thing.
Oh.
Because I was like, how old is this man and how old is she? What's going on?
Yeah, she was
Maybe
supposed
she
to
was
be
seeking
early
a man of
20s.
strength because she was scared now because she dated that little bitch Cameron, and
Well,
but she made a bad judgment call on that one because they both ended up. And that guy really wasn't that good because he got in a headlock by a little Corey. So
Yeah, right.
but
Yeah.
yeah, dude, this movie, and I
Derek,
want to
when did
keep
it fall
finding
apart
things.
for you? When did you
When,
know? When
when
did
did
you
I
just
know I was having a bad time? I think by about like the 45-minute mark, and Michael still hadn't popped up for anything significant. I was kind of like, what's going on here? Am I
I
watching
actually
like?
timed it. I timed it. It was
oh,
right. It was, yeah, because I was looking. I was like, okay, we're 30 minutes in. Michael's still not here. Oh, we're 35 minutes in and Michael's still not here. He didn't show up until between 40 and 45 minutes.
It was and
It
that
was
see, I just
right
approximated
around
that, but I
there.
was like,
So
I
you
couldn't.
so
Yeah,
yeah, so because it took so long for him to even be
right.
known that he,
And
yeah,
then the
okay.
minute the little that I thought, well, why is Michael letting him live? This is just lazy writing. See, they usually they did that in like other genres where the villain kind of utilizes a protege or whatever you want to call it, or he spares a potential victim to drag other people in. They're usually not doing that to like the fourth or fifth film when they're out of ideas. You know what I mean? And they're trying to keep things fresh. And just the idea that by this third film in this trilogy, that again these guys have told us they had planned out, and they clearly did fucking not. And if they did, I have a lot of even more questions for them if this was the planned course. But I just oh, you sorry, get another disjointed thought here. You remember how I was pointing out originally? This was the last talk we had, where there were a lot of plot contradictions and things that between the original story of the original Halloween, where they acknowledge it originally in the Halloween 18. Sorry, I'm flubbing up here. Sorry, guys. Halloween Kills was not organically planned out. Okay. And despite what he says, having a whole narrative to go with, Halloween 18, they had originally acknowledged that they had erased the Meyers house. So that kind of invalidated Halloween Kills because the Meyers house became an integral part of the story, right?
Right.
So he clearly, and Hawkins also originally was dead. He was toast. And then they decided to revive him. And I'm just saying that the idea that they had this all planned out, they really didn't. And I keep kicking that dead horse, but I think that's one of the things that they're making these things under the gun. This series got a lot bigger than they anticipated. And I think that got a lot of fingers in the pot, so to speak, a lot of cooks in the kitchen. And I think that's why this whole trilogy fell apart so quickly. And I really started to think that David Gordon Green is a bullshitter. I think he just knows how to live in Hollywood and say, hey, he's a yes man. He's a yes man. He tries to act like he's got more going for him than he does. But like I said, he's got like 1.5 good films in my opinion. And I don't like that. I feel like he lied to a lot of us by saying he had a really great thing plotted out, and he didn't. And I'm going to say he didn't, because I don't think that ends. I think, again, they decided to shift gears once again and create a new story that they originally had not envisioned.
Yeah.
And they made it under the gun because, look, we had like a little over 1.5 years between films, give or take, because Kills got delayed.
They filmed Kills in 2019. And then they filmed Ends earlier this year. And they did reshoots over the summer.
Yeah.
So
they all did I know they all had extra photography. I know Kills got delayed 2 years because of the
it did. Yes,
COVID
it was supposed
stuff.
to come out. What? 19?
Yeah, I thought
No.
so.
It was supposed to come out in 20.
Yeah.
And it got delayed a whole year. But I had heard that they had originally planned to film all 3 films,
Yeah.
or at least 2, or something like that, but that they weren't sure how well it was gonna go, so they just did the 1. So when I heard that, I thought, "Okay, so then they do have." Well, I was telling Dee, I didn't know when I first saw the very, very first time I saw 2018, I had no idea they had a trilogy planned. I thought that was it, and I thought he was dead. And so then when I had read up further about it, and they were saying how they had planned to do this filming, and then they only just did the 1 because they wanted to see how it was gonna go. Then I thought, "Oh, so they have this story already mapped out." I feel good about it because 2018 was so good. And then, like you said, with kills and also with ends, it became very clear they didn't have anything mapped out because originally, like Dee had pointed out, it was supposed to happen in one night. They took this time jump of 4 years. So there were 4 writers on this
Oh,
one.
I know. Have you seen like Scary Movie 5 had like 13 writers?
Oh no, I haven't watched any of those movies.
But I want to ask, did you guys feel that Lori? I know they said 4 years, and maybe that's why they tried to explain it. But she spent 40 years basically building herself up to, forgive the analogy, of Sarah Connor. You know what I mean? She had basically this tough lady.
Yeah.
She spent 40 years building this trap specifically for Michaels. I mean, he haunted her life up and down. He was an obsession, right? Like he controlled her life.
Oh yeah.
And all of a sudden, after kills, where Michael made everything worse, her plan failed. Karen, she lost her daughter, and all of a sudden, the courses between kills and ends, suddenly she's just, just enlightened. I don't care.
Let's enjoy life. Let's make pies. Let me go do this, and yeah.
I did not. Again,
it was
these
a
character
big
decisions
character
didn't
reversal,
feel organic to me. They didn't seem plausible. I'm just rolling my eyes like they wouldn't do that, or I just didn't buy it. And I don't know if you guys felt the same. Like it was really kind of you're really stretching this on me, man. And that takes you out of the movie because you're already second guessing.
It definitely. I noticed it. Obviously, I was like, okay, I can buy. She's trying to move on, but at the same time, she doesn't know that he's dead, so he's still out there. So how easily could she really move on from this and want to bake pies, knowing that Michael Myers is out there somewhere and might come for her? She knew he was alive for 40 years and he was locked up, and she was petrified and preparing herself and everything. So that did feel odd. And even though I was like, okay, I get it. She's trying to move on, but still there's that whole lingering thing about him still being out there. And then Allison felt like her character arc was just really weird. Like she just went, she was like a totally different person.
And
At least with Laurie's character, she wasn't like a totally different person. You could see this resilience she had, this survival instinct she had in the first one.
Yeah.
She just hardened up on that. Same thing with Sarah Connor. She didn't become a totally different person. She just became a stronger person. She just evolved into something, a better, stronger version of herself. It wasn't like this complete role reversal, and she was, you know what I mean? If that makes any sense. She did have a strong evolution, but it wasn't such a departure from what we knew her as before. She was just stronger and tougher because life had shaped her this way. Allison became almost like, I thought she was going to pick up a knife and kill people. That, burn it all down. Okay. I mean, I really did. I thought it was going to happen.
I felt, it felt like a weird Romeo and Juliet, almost like a Natural Born Killers ending. You know what I mean? Like her and Corey would go Mickey and Mallory, and just, But and then what do you guys get tired of the needless fan service that kind of becomes like a cliche now? Like initially it was cool seeing little tips of the hat to things, and now all of a sudden they brought back what's her name from the dead, the caregiver who got the
what was her name? Was her name Sandra, the girl in the wheelchair?
Yeah, I think it was Sandra. Yeah, I think it was.
And then they brought back the little kid,
Julie, and
to walk down the street. Oh, and then I saw that the sheriff was going to be back. Not Hawkins, but the other sheriff.
Yeah.
Dude with the cowboy hat.
Yeah.
And he was just in there just a little bit, like, we're going to do this thing with Michael. And I thought he was going to play a part like in some sort of investigation-y stuff that was happening. You know, he had more presence in kills.
Yeah.
And then I had forgot because I saw his name. I was like, oh, he's back. And then he doesn't show up until the end when they're going to haul Michael's body down. I was like, that's it? Okay.
Yeah, they make a big point, and that's what I was saying before. It's like they showcase this community and all these various people. Not saying that we have to see everyone back, but it's like we had all these characters kind of playing, their role. And part of what made this feel so weird is that it's like everything was like so empty, and we barely saw any interactions. But besides Corey and Allison, it's like we didn't see Hawkins, we didn't see Lindsay, we didn't see any of either the sheriff or the guy who the poor old man who they had doing the Evil Dies Tonight in the last one. We didn't see him.
Oh, because he died.
Oh, I forgot he was
died.
I completely forgot. Yeah. But it's like they still had so many other people that we could have at least seen as part of the story or with Laurie or something, and it just kind of everything felt very disconnected because it was just like Michael was over here, Laurie was here, Allison and Corey over here, and then just it didn't feel like there was a real synergy or connection between any of the characters. Because Kills was annoying with the mob stuff, but at least you got a sense that this was a community and these were people who knew each other, and even like with the bar scene or stuff like that. But here it just kind of felt like we were just hopping and skipping and jumping, and we would just see people, and we never really saw them doing anything outside of Laurie, Allison, and
Corey. Yeah. That's fair. And I didn't like, again, I thought they did well with I use the term fan service. I guess that's the best way to describe it. So it's trendy now on the boards, but I thought Kills did good with that. I thought Ends had it to where it's just like, oh, hey, look, he's here. And they again, absolutely no purpose, not even a line of dialogue from any of them. They just, I guess the sheriff had one, but it was just, I just started to get kind of bothersome to me. And yeah, fan service can be just fine. And I think when done well and tastefully or purposefully, it works. When it just feels like they're just putting plugs in.
Oh, look, here what we can show you.
Yeah, look, trust us. We, like what Disney does with the Star Wars ones. You know what I mean? Without having a clue. Hey, look, we brought back Han Solo, and now he's dead. You're like, oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I really want to keep finding. Okay, did you guys discuss any positive notes from Ends? Anything you liked from Ends? Yeah. Okay.
A little, but it's been mostly negative. Okay. I was saying how I was with the movie up until Michael and Corey met. That was when it started to lose me. But I was okay with the slower pace because I knew he was there somewhere. And so this, oh, Michael, he's still around. But I just knew it was going to go off in this absolutely horrendous and horrible direction when he let him go. And so there's not a whole lot of positives I can say about it, especially because one of the showdowns you see between Laurie and Michael in the trailer wasn't even Michael. It was freaking Corey. So
yeah, I had mentioned this in that I actually liked the opening scene because it's not what I thought it was going to be. That's not how I was expecting the open thing.
Yeah.
And I literally jumped, when that scene ended the way it did, because I did not see that coming at all. And I kind of like that it wasn't Michael Myers, related. And it's like, oh, Halloween Ends. And I was like, oh, that's when I really was like, I kind of got excited. I'm like, oh, where are we about to go with this? I did like we talked about even though that gave it away for Sin, I thought it was the opening sequence or intro sequence was cool with the pumpkins, the different pumpkins, which I think were from the different films. I thought the kills themselves were interesting. A couple of them, it was weird because it's like the DJ kill, it's like when they got to the point where his face was smashed up and he cut the tongue, it was giving me Kills vibes. Like how some of the kills were in that film where they were goofy, and I don't know if that was the tone they were going for or not. Like I thought the kills for the most part were, because I think that part is always probably one of the more interesting aspects of it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The idea of what they could have done with Corey, I would have been fine with at a certain point, but outside of that, I can't think of much. Like, yeah, so I would say once Mike is back in the picture and he's like actually like with the high school kids, as obnoxious as they were, and we actually saw them get taken down. Like, I was into that, but it was so much in between those moments that it was hard to really think of anything else.
You talking about when he ran over the kid and then
Oh, the junkyard,
yeah. Did you say that was Mike? That was not Michael.
No, it's a scene he liked. It was
scene. Oh, okay. That just the kills in general.
Yeah, the general kill. Sorry, what's his name?
Corey.
I know Corey was there. Did Michael not?
I think that was Corey doing all those kills.
Yeah, it was Corey doing it all.
It was Corey. See, Corey did a lot of. I think he did more kills than Michael.
Exactly.
Michael got what one, and
he and Corey together killed the sheriff guy.
Yeah,
and then they killed the doctor and the nurse. Okay,
the little homewrecker.
Who killed the doctor? Right. Michael killed the nurse. He impaled her on the wall. Right. Like, oh, but this is a great nod to the original. But Corey killed the doctor. He killed the doctor. He was stabbing the doctor, right?
That was a cringy ass scene with him with his little scarecrow mask on, stabbing, and then he looks up at you, and it was just like, no.
Yeah.
That's like an Octopussy when James Bond wore disguised the circus clown makeup, and you're just like, no, no. This is not going to age well. This is not. Don't do that. And that's what the.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but I did like her being killed. I like the redhead little girl. Sorry, the one.
The homewrecker. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked her getting killed.
Where you checked your phone, Simon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going on social media too. I was taking notes. I use my phone to take notes. I try to be, unobtrusive about it because it does light up and I dim everything. But I actually was. Like I said, I went on Twitter. I checked my email. It's so bad.
Yeah, I it's weird because I knew that was Corey in the junkyard, but then when I thought about the girl getting smashed in the fence, I saw the mask and I thought Michael, but it was him with his.
Yeah, it's just him wearing that dang mask.
That he was there, and then Mike showed up. I'm like, I guess I'm writing my own scene.
It's your wishful. It's what you wish had happened.
Exactly. But yeah. So like some of the kills, like there in that scene, that was cool. But then again, it was Corey, so it was kind of like in and of itself, the kills themselves, but the nature of who was doing it and doing them and then relegating who was here, who would be to the background. I will say it was interesting seeing Nick Castle. Did you notice him?
Yeah. I heard he was in the bar.
He was. Yeah, I know his face, so I saw him.
Okay, I had known that he was supposed to be in here. The only thing he did as far as Michael Myers was the breathing work, the breathing stuff. And then I heard he was in the bar, but I think I didn't notice him, or if I did, I noticed him and recognized him, but I didn't like, my brain didn't make the click connection or something. So I was telling Dee that Arturo is going to go see it on Wednesday, and I don't know if I want to put in the effort to watch it again.
You might find something you like. I don't know. I did like. I say to try to always be reasonable, balanced. I try to point out positives if I'm ripping a film all the time. But I will say I did like the beginning. I thought the opening was cool. If it would have just left it at that and then continued as a horror story and somehow plugged in Corey, that would have been cool. The fact that they just basically this was the beginning of Corey's story makes it kind of tough for me. But I will say I did love that little bastard brat when he fell and croaked. I laughed. I was like, oh, that's cool.
But something I thought was kind of funny, and I did write this down in my notes, even though I didn't talk about it in my review. He touched on something that I've mentioned before about Michael never killing the little kids.
Yeah.
You notice what he said? Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, he only kills babysitters. He doesn't kill kids. Ha! But I liked that scene because you remember one of the criticisms. It kind of cracked me up when people were, always ranting about Halloween 18. When people were like, remember when he killed the one kid who was the dancer with his dad at the bus stop escape, and they're always like, oh, I didn't like that Michael killed a kid.
Well, he was a teenager.
Well, yeah. but you understand that he's always killed kids. You were just discerned because they actually had a kid play a kid versus having a 32-year-old play a kid.
Play a teenager, yeah, that's
So,
true. But like he really hasn't killed young children. He's never killed young children.
He's not good at killing kids because he tried for what, like two and a half whole films to kill Jamie
to
Lloyd.
kill his
and
niece.
He
Yeah.
couldn't get hurt. He could take on police officers and greasers and Camaros. He could take on anybody. He just
He's a
couldn't
little
kill
kid.
a
He
little
just can't.
8-year-old.
Trick or treat
So.
movie. No, this is in reference to I refuse to watch Resurrection. I've only seen it up to the point that Jamie Lee Curtis gets killed, and maybe a few moments after that, and that's it. I'm so glad I never watched the rest of it. I don't even count it. It's not even in my list when I ranked the Halloween movies. No.
It's crazy because I would have liked Resurrection more. Like I saw it in theaters all that time when I was a kid, and I was so hyped to see it. So I don't know. I got a soft spot for it, to be honest. Like I can watch it as kind of a little nostalgic trip. But if for one, the Laurie thing bothered me. If they would have just left Jamie Lee out of it, fine. Took out Busta Rhymes, I think the film would have worked decently. It would have been an average Halloween film, but it was people forget in 2002 that movie was really timely. Because they were just talking about the live streaming type stuff with the cameras. Now that we don't use headsets, you don't see people walking around with headsets too often anymore. But and dealing with the live internet shows you would log into, like a pay-per-view kind of thing. She had her Palm Pilot. Remember doing the text messaging or emailing kind of hybrid thing with the Decker kid. Like, people forget that it's like that movie felt really on the ball. If you saw it in 2002, you weren't particularly critical, and it was well received with fans. I mean, with horror people for the most part. And if you went to Blockbuster, it was always like sold out for rentals.
Oh wow!
For at least that's Anyways, so now I didn't really notice there was so much hate for it personally until I got on the internet. God bless it. And then, people really now 20 years later really hated the freaking movie. I didn't realize there's that much hate for it.
No, I never watched it. I like I've said, I never just partially, and then no.
Yeah, if they would have just removed the Jamie part, because I didn't like seeing her die, I would have just rather just don't acknowledge them. They're just gone in the sunset. Let them be. She's gone in the wind before. Let her go in the wind again.
I just think they shouldn't have even made it. We should have just, and the answer they gave as to why he survived. He switched with the ambulance driver. Oh, come on.
Well, you got to know that Halloween H2O, that movie made like what, $55 million in $98, which for a Halloween.
I love that movie. I actually really like that movie.
Right. So you just got to know that when we throw that much money at a movie that costs, a third, a fourth, a fifth of that to make, he's coming back. You bet on it. He's coming back. So,
yeah, well.
But I want to say something positive about ends. I did like some of the.
I feel the same, Chris. About H2O.
Oh yeah.
The mask, yeah.
Which mask? There were like 5.
Oh yeah. They didn't do a good job on any of them. Not the one in H2O was terrible. I wish they could fix that. But
well, if you notice in the opening scene with Marion Chambers, they use the Halloween 6 mask.
I didn't notice.
Oh, next time you do, and it's kind of in long shots, but you'll see it's Halloween 6, and then they switched over. They ping pong back and forth between 2 masks throughout the film, and then if you count that CGI mask, and anyways,
bad.
It's just kind of a fun little game to play now when you kind of spot the mask.
Yeah, spot the mask.
But I did like on ends. Let me say a positive thing. I liked Laurie's reflection, and I did, even though it felt inorganic to me. I liked her. Full circle, I liked her writing the book, trying to come beyond that, because that was stuff she talked about in H2O about not running anymore. And though it didn't feel organic to me, I still liked the scenes. I thought they were good moments with Jamie Lee Curtis in there, and I did think the scene where she faked calling in the suicide was actually really sad.
Well, I was busy thinking that this is ridiculous. Her character would not do, and then of course, you find out, okay, all right, well, it's just, it was just a ruse. Yeah. But I was getting a little bit agitated during that part, and I could tell, though, the scenery was leading us up to the thing that we saw in the teaser. Yeah. I just didn't know how they were going to get there, and then I said, oh, all right, I got it.
So you knew it was fake. Kind of the trailer's already, it's fake off the bat, but you're kind of seeing like because she dealt with that in 18. The scene, it was cut from I think it's in deleted scenes, but it's also in the book. She talks a lot about thinking of basically being suicidal to that degree,
about killing herself.
and to see that scene actually come to fruit, at the end of ends where she called it. I just thought it was sad, and especially where she feels like she may have really screwed things up with Allison, her last family member, and how I don't know. I got sucked into that moment and felt very horrible. And then it was like, oh, it was just, oh, thank God it was a joke.
Yeah.
It was like,
right. Yeah. And then when she like did the shooting or whatever, I was like, it's the pumpkin. It's the pumpkin. It's the pumpkin.
Right.
But then I was like, they better not show her having done this to herself. But I knew it was going to be the pumpkin because I was like, we haven't seen this other stuff they were supposed to show us. But yeah, to Mariah fan, I feel exactly the same. 18 was solid. I didn't like kills though, so I felt almost exactly the same. And this one, yes, it was terrible, and it did feel embarrassing. I felt embarrassed for Jamie Lee Curtis in kills.
Yeah,
because
Jamie Lee had almost nothing to do in the film.
And when she did, it was kind of clownish.
Some of the dramatic dialogue, monologues, and then like the scene that still makes me cringe is when she remember in Kills where she takes the painkillers that were meant for Hopkins and she loads them up and then she like just dramatically like stabs it in her butt, I assume. And just cries out and it makes this crush and tearing sound. And you're like, now why the hell would you do that when you could just easily just prick yourself and give a little injection painless?
I know.
It's just like
so they had to, amp up the drama.
Yeah, and that's the only thing they're doing, just trying to be super theatrical, and seeing that's where, and that's just yet another thing that I felt like these guys really didn't have a handle on what they were doing, because the first 18 felt pretty restrained, and I liked that. They didn't go a lot of the melodrama. They kept it pretty dialed into reality, but then they just kept, it's like they just threw all that to the wind when Kills came out, and then it ends, they just didn't even, it's like they didn't even give a shit anymore.
Well, also another thing that I had that Dee and I had talked about was some of the characters did things that made no sense. So specifically, I'll mention Corey.
Yeah.
So I thought he was going to go, the route of like obsessed boyfriend. When he said, if I can't have Allison, no one can. So you think, okay, he's going to try to kill Allison or he's going to try to kill Jamie, and then he proceeds to stab himself in the throat.
Yeah,
that
Romeo
made no
Juliet,
sense,
man.
But that made no sense.
Yeah.
Why would you say, if I can't have her, nobody can? Well, then why are you killing her?
Yeah,
why are you killing yourself? That made
one of
no
the
sense.
questions I'm gonna. Yeah,
and then the fact that didn't even kill him. He was still alive enough to grab Michael later.
Right, and if you look how big the knife was and how deep it was at the handle, that thing would have been protruding out the back of his neck.
And also, he'd been shot
twice. Yeah, and he fell off.
Yeah, and he fell over. Yeah. There was a question that someone asked earlier about why did we think Laurie kept had that mask at the end? She kept the mask and it was on
the
like
coffee table.
Coffee table, yeah. Why do you think she kept it?
Maybe a souvenir, like you see hunters put antlers and heads on the wall. Maybe I survived this. This thing.
Yeah.
It's not coming back. She personally pushed him into the metal grinder, and we saw his brain pop out of his head. And
somebody said they thought it was Corey. It's Corey. Michael's not dead. Like, no, it was Michael. He had his mask off, and you could tell it was.
He pulled a resurrection. He just switched suits again. That's all.
He just did a face transplant at the last moment. He pulled a Ethan Hawke, not Ethan Hawke.
Yeah,
he pulled a Ethan Mission Impossible trick with the mask.
Yep.
Like real quick, super quick, like in Mission Impossible 2.
Yeah. Hey, it works. The audiences would just kind of nod and go along with it, and they'd throw another $100 million at it. That's
it's going to come back in some form or fashion. His character is going to come back, but I don't know. I just don't think another one can recapture what the original and what 2018 had, and even H2O. I just don't think they can do it. And I'm not going to trust David Gordon Green ever again. Right?
And I think Jamie Lee Curtis has kind of jumped the shark a bit too, because she had a huge influence on these films, if you've noticed, because she was not a box, she was not bankable, she was not pop, she was in a slump again, and then 18 came out, And all of a sudden, she's in movies again. That movie made way more money than they ever anticipated. And that's why I think it just got too big, too quick. And I have a suspicion it could be David Gordon Green. I still don't trust the guy as far as I could throw him. But I think that Jamie Lee maybe she put like an executive control over this, or creative control. Maybe she vetoed it and said, I really want to make this kind of a character-centric part about Laurie tying up her loose ends and becoming enlightened or something like that. Because Michael was really just a freaking afterthought in the film. I mean, he had how much screen time? Maybe 5 minutes tops. He didn't pop up to the last 10 minutes of the film. If he hadn't have even, say you cut out every scene with Michael, how much would ends have suffered? I'm wondering, what would you guys think? How much, if we took Michael totally out of the equation, how much do you think ends would have suffered? I think he was just inconsequential to the film. And
yeah, he was treated like an afterthought. And I had mentioned that even though Michael is scary and bad and I want him to die, it felt disrespectful the way they handled his character.
Right. It's just like, oh, and by the way, we're going to kill him off for good. We got 5 minutes left. And you're like, no, this.
Yeah. Oh, let's not forget, they have to have this final showdown. So he just happens to magically be there to grab them.
Right. And I thought they kept reiterating the point, unless he, again, was following Corey around unbeknownst, that he did not
show him watching Corey and Allison at one point, I think. It showed him.
I didn't see it. Maybe he did. I could have.
He was standing. They were like, I think they were outside. Maybe they were outside Laurie's house, and he was watching them. Him and Allison. He was watching Corey and Allison. It was a very brief shot, but I guess that's how he knew. Maybe that's how he followed Corey there.
Oh,
so then that's how the final showdown happened. What's that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's another point where he's looking at the house while Laurie is there too.
Michael?
I believe I don't.
There was a scene with Corey watching her from
right
down below,
which was toying with the Michael transferred his essence.
Yeah. No. I know what you mean, but no, there was another scene like I don't know if that was supposed to be some. I don't think it's weird because it's before Corey takes his mask, but there is a scene where. Oh, it has to be because there's a scene where Laurie is standing outside the house, and I don't know if this.
There's a noise. There's a noise.
And I don't know if this is when she's watching Allison go upstairs with Corey, but then you see the silhouette of someone watching her from outside, and then you see them move away from the tree.
Yeah, and she hears the noise, I thought.
Yeah, and then she turns. And then so it was weird that they did that. But I guess that was the explanation for why he knew where the house was.
Okay, but my thing, and then I was also my original thought was like, so if they went out of their way to establish they're not related, there's really no connection between Michael and Laurie aside coincidence. And, as Dr. Sartain set him up, he organized the whole thing because he wanted to see him kill.
Right.
It's just really kind of a stretch again that you're like, so Michael just magically decides to pop up tonight right after Corey. He hunts her down again. Why does he care all of a sudden? He went 4 years. He didn't care. He didn't do anything. He just ate sewer rats and killed hobos. I mean, that's
right.
Or supposedly said he killed them, but obviously I don't know. What was with that when he was stabbing that cop, and all of a sudden he starts like getting this little jitterbug, like he's on Highlander getting the quickening. You know what I mean? He's like, and all of a sudden he's like,
I know. I was mentioning to Dee, it was like he was acting almost orgasmic. And it was like the kill kind of reinvigorated because he'd been living down in the sewers, and the kill sort of re-energized him.
Sure.
That was so cringe. That was so bad. I know. It's just Dee, exactly.
I just see those things and I don't know what to think. You're just kind of like, oh no. I just kind of.
Corey's, like holding them there for him, and he's.
Michael just like buddies with him again when Michael, because obviously Michael doesn't. Here's another thought I had. I don't know where you guys. They didn't follow through with it, so it's just my imagination going. But remember, after Michael beat him and took his mask, right?
Corey beat
Michael and took his mask, and then Michael immediately kind of sits up
straight. Yeah. So then you're Corey sits up straight later too.
Right, but I was wondering because Michael is as they establish in the first 18, and especially if you read the book, they tell you that he plays mind games with people to manipulate them. Like he manipulated the doctor to get him out. He played that. He played Dr. Sartain, and that's why, Sartain, before he dies, he told me I could watch all the killings. What's going on? And he's like totally shocked that Michael just kills him. So Michael will exploit people and then kill them. I mean, and we know that. That's what they always do. These bad guys do. But when he sat up like that, I thought, well, maybe he was just letting Corey kind of push him around, get what he wants.
He did that on purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, and then just disappear. But then there was no real. Yeah. I thought there was no payoff to that plot point. Like thinking if that was the motive of it, there was no real payoff in the story. It was just yet another thing that they picked up and dropped immediately. So I didn't really follow through with it. But I don't know if you guys saw any of that too. And I was kind of thinking, well, maybe that was him playing Corey to get his way or to get, I don't know, whatever was going on. He just, whatever end game he had in his mind, but because he never gave a conclusion. But I remember thinking that, like, he played Sartain to get out of jail so this whole thing could happen. So why wouldn't he play? Because obviously if he's that easily beat by this little kid who, again, couldn't stand up to these marching band geeks, you know what I mean? And just manhandling Michael and everything when, oh gosh.
I know.
That was just a thought I had, and I just wanted to articulate it a bit. Such a depressing
discussion. I can see where you could read that into it. But yeah, like you said, there's no payoff. They didn't follow through. If that was the intent, they didn't follow through with it.
No.
They didn't follow through with a lot of things, I felt. So I'm just kind of like, I think it's pretty much one of those movies that when I get to heaven, I'm going to ask David Gordon Green, what the fuck were you doing here, man? And if he's like, just... well, I had this thing, and I'm just going to probably smack him. I don't know, get kicked out of heaven. Or maybe I'll even, if he blames Jamie Lee Curtis, I'll go, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Well, do you remember how when Kills came out, how, I don't remember, I think it was Jamie Lee Curtis that made the point, was trying to draw some sort of correlation between the storyline in Kills and like January 6th stuff.
I remember.
You remember that? And I remember, like, no, that's dumb, because this movie was filmed before the riots of 2020 and the January 6th. This was filmed well before all that. Why are you trying to drag this nonsense into it? And so then when they said they were doing a time jump and they said it was going to make people angry, some people thought it was going to be some sort of political commentary on COVID and stuff like that, but it wasn't. So I wonder, what specifically did Jamie Lee Curtis think was going to make people angry? Did she think, what did she think? When she said that, I thought she meant, oh, she's going to get killed. That's what I personally thought she meant. What did you think she meant?
That was one of the first things. I thought that they toyed around with the idea that Lori will die. That I thought that was going to be the one. And that when I started reading about imposter Corey online, I guess apparently one of the scripts leaked, one of the early writings. And I didn't read into the spoilers too much. It wouldn't have bothered me personally. I don't know. I can handle it. But I thought that's what she meant. I know that she gets super political on her Facebook page. So that wouldn't have. I'm surprised she didn't try to plug some COVID hysteria into it.
Well, there was concern because, see, it would have jumped from 18 to 2020, and a lot of people did think that was going to tie in. I mean, I was glad to see it didn't. But then I was just trying to figure out, okay, she was right. It made people angry. But I just wonder if it was the same thing. But you know how sometimes they'll sort of play with the fans and they'll like say stuff that's really vague, and maybe you watch it, it's like, oh, no, it's not. You didn't,
Yeah.
So I don't know if she was doing that or if she meant just the film. Maybe she could tell it was going to be shit, or maybe I don't know.
I get the vibe that she loved it. I think that she really got her way on this one with her character. I think because she's super anti-gun, and I think she didn't like the idea of Jamie Lee. I think she wanted to get rid of that. She's determined, Sarah Connor with guns and stuff.
Yeah.
I get the feeling she wanted to make her more laid back and didn't want to focus on that. She wanted to. This is just my intuit, my submission. I just think that she wanted to.
You don't think you don't think she liked the way her character was portrayed in 2018? Like that?
I get the vibe because I look at I know she had a creative hand in this thing, and I'm sure she exerted strong creative control.
She was an executive producer.
Yeah, and John Carpenter gets credits, but he doesn't really. He just shows up and eats from the buffet, and cashes his checks. That's all he does.
And does the score.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the score. The score's really good. Oh, sorry. I just now noticed there was a private chat back here. Well, oh, okay. You need to leave, D. I'm sorry about that.
No, you're okay. You didn't have to say that.
I forget about this private chat very often, but something I was gonna mention was before when 2018 came out. I don't know if you remember, but there were these articles about, oh, it was Halloween 2018. It's a far right film about, it's a pro gun film, and because she was.
Yeah.
I didn't get that sense at all.
I didn't either.
She was just, she was.
Well, she had guns,
herself,
and that's what
protecting
they
herself.
were there for. And
I didn't.
And they really didn't do her a whole lot of good anyway. So why would that be a pro-gun film? It's kind of, if anything, you'd rather see guns can't save you from Michael, so why have them?
Right.
So it's
you got to use the fire stick and gas.
Right.
And even that didn't work. Nothing works. I mean, again, but remember, he's just a resilient human being.
He's resilient. He can live through gunshots, knife stabs, pitchfork stabs, getting his neck cracked on a stair, and he can have his throat slit and still.
And he can pick up firemen with an axe and lift them over his head. That was amazing. I don't think Olympians can do that, man. Like, that was crazy. But
when he can walk through a fire hose and not get knocked down.
You know what's crazy? I think people need to really make a point. Because when you read again the comment boards, people are laughing. It was so funny when the fireman shot him with the hose, and like, what's that going to do? Do you know what it's like to be shot with 100 psi of water?
Yeah.
You will be on your ass rolling away.
Yeah, I knew when he walked through that hose, that was complete bull crap.
Well, especially when it looked like all of a sudden, like when it shows the fireman spraying it, it's like a full blast. Like that thing could rip wood off your house. You know what I mean? That's how powerful the thing is. And then when all of a sudden they cut to Michael walking towards the firefighter, it's like someone put their thumb over the garden hose. It was just kind of like a little flay. And I remember seeing that thinking, oh, it didn't even look like threatening. And you're kind of like, okay, so they really messed that up, because that hose should have just knocked him, especially being 60 years old now. I mean,
yeah, he was supposed to be, because he was born in 57. Right. Some people are saying like he's 70. No, he's like in his mid 60s at this point. So, okay, if you got to run, D, I don't want to hold you. It's if you've got to bow out.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Sorry to show up so late, man. I dropped the ball on that one. That was totally my fault. I thought Monday. It's Sunday.
Well, we had sort of toyed around with those 3 days, and then we, Sunday was the one we settled on, and I'm just glad you're okay.
No, thank you. And I'm sorry that I left you guys hanging there. And before you go, look, you see my Halloween hat, my Michael Myers hat?
Oh, cool.
And it's actually a Curse of Michael Myers licensed hat, and it actually has a picture of the Curse mask. A lot of times when you get these cheap licensed ones, they'll just be like, Michael Myers Halloween 5, and then they'll show like Michael from Halloween 2. You know what I mean? They actually did their due diligence on this one.
You would know your masks too.
I do.
Yes, I know you would.
Well, it's good talking with you, man. I'm sorry Ends was such a bust. I wish it was a better film. I really, for everyone's sake, for ours most importantly, but for everyone, I wish it was a better film.
Yeah.
Apparently it's supposed to make, what, 45 million this weekend?
41. It's performing below expectations because bad word of mouth.
Imagine my surprise there. Jeez.
Yeah.
And I bet you huge audience drop off next weekend. Mark my words.
Oh,
not
yeah, I'm sure.
50%. We're talking
probably 60s.
No, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it made like 16 million.
Black Adam is coming out.
Yeah, it is.
So that's going to probably be number one. I'm going to go see it on Thursday.
You know what? I may end up even go seeing this movie one more time on Halloween night, just because I'm a completist, and I know it's going to punish me. But I've seen every single Halloween since H2O on Halloween night in theaters, so it's like I'm not going to let this one. I probably won't let this one break the streak and take that from me. So. Yeah, I know.
I usually watch Halloween and Halloween 2018 back to back on Halloween night, but on Halloween night, the company that I work with, we're doing like a live stream. We're going to be doing live stream events on and off all day. So I'll be too busy. But I did go see the original Halloween, like I said, in 2018 on the big screen. We had talked about that. So I think I've kind of
10 years ago when it came, when they did the first re-release, didn't you? Like in 2012?
Yeah, and it was terrible. It was terrible. The picture was small. And the sound, it sounded like I was listening to something through a can or a barrel. It was so bad. It was so bad.
I was
But
gonna go
then
see it, but then
it's better now.
some guy one of my friends at the time talked me into going to a some kind of, like, he said, where there was a party, a Halloween party going on. It was like one of those Amway seminars, and I'm like, you really pulled that bullshit on me. And so I didn't see Halloween that year, and I remember thinking I wanted to see it in the big screen because I'd never seen it on the big
It
screen.
wasn't that one was not a great experience. I was disappointed. And so when I went again later, I was worried it was going to be the same thing. Cause you know how sometimes the older films they can only do but so much. And I thought, well, I guess it's just they just didn't have good original quality to work with. But now it's fine. They made it bigger. The sound is cinematic. It's fine.
I'd go see it in theaters finally one day. But
yeah.
Okay. I know you gotta go, D. Sorry, man. Keep ranting here. We'll talk forever. But
sorry, D.
No, you guys are okay. Enjoyed talking with you. Like we said, too bad it wasn't a more positive conversation, but at least it highlights how great Top Gun Maverick is.
I know, because we got derailed. we were talking about others. We were talking about other stuff.
Top Gun Maverick was so good. I'm glad they didn't ship that one direct to video or streaming, and I'm glad it. Absolutely. And it's still playing in theaters over here. I don't know if it's where you guys are.
Here too. Here too it is. Yeah.
Right on. Right on.
Okay. Well, should we wrap it up, or did you want to talk some more about Halloween after D leaves, Derek?
I don't mind. I can talk Halloween forever. You know, that's my
Okay. All right. I guess we can hang around. We got like an hour of stream I can do left. And you know, if D you gotta go, we need to organize another watch party sometime.
Please, because it was such a fun time.
That was fun. Dude, we chatted for like almost 5 hours. Because we watched Halloween Kills
movie. Cool.
tore it apart.
Yes.
And then we got to talking about I had to finally turn off the recording because I was like, this thing's I'm gonna run out of, they're gonna cut me off. But it was fun. And so I look forward to it again. It's fun to watch films with friends. So
yes, and I just realized we have to send each other at the very least. Oh no, we both have to send each other
our letterbox.
Yeah, and then films that we both haven't seen.
Right.
Yeah, so I'll send you the ones you haven't seen. You'll send me some you haven't seen.
Okay.
I'll do that tonight.
Okay. All right. And then that will remind me to do what I need to do.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, it was good talking to you, D. Thanks for joining me.
You too, and it's all good, Derek. I'm glad I was able to still chat with you some. And I'll catch you guys later.
All right. Okay. Take care, man.
Bye. Have a good week. Bye.
Did you catch the Don't Fear the Reaper music in the supermarket? You know, Blue Oyster Cult's "Don't Fear the Reaper," the one they play on the end credits.
I thought I remembered that song, but I couldn't remember the scene.
Well, they played it at the end credits, right when it says Halloween ends or whatever.
That's when I noticed it. I didn't notice it in the supermarket.
Yeah, when her and Hawkins are talking, like, do 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 do. You know, it's one of those music.
Oh yeah, no, I completely. Something that I thought was weird. Chibi, you just wanted to get down. Sorry, my fur baby. Come here. Did you think it was kind of weird and odd that Hawkins and Laurie seemed to have not even spoken or interacted at all in 4 years?
Yeah, especially after that thing where it seemed like they had that budding romance coming out in the hospital bed, right? And then it was just, again, another thread in Kills that they just threw away.
That they didn't follow up on until like the end.
Right. And then even then it felt kind of like in their own yeah, because it was kind of interesting where Hawkins, now that you pointed out, where he was like, oh yeah, I've been doing the Rosetta Stone and making whatever, having small talk. But yeah, it was like they'd never talked. Like they hadn't even seen each other.
He didn't even know Allison was living with her.
Yeah.
Like what?
Right. And you'd think, yeah, and then see that just right there. Another thing that as I start thinking, like with the end of Kills, like how it gave up this big hype and all this buildup for a big showdown, for a bigger story, and all these threads that were left untouched. And then all of a sudden we're supposed to just believe, fast forward 4 years, we forget about them. And and see, that gets me more frustrated because it's just like, if you remember the trailers for Kills when that came out too, again, a misleading trailer, they let it up. The whole film was a build up to Laurie where they showed her walking out of the hospital.
Walking down the hallway. Yeah.
With the knife, you know, and I'm coming for you, Michael. And you're like, okay, cool. And then apparently she didn't come for him. And what did he do? Again, what did he do in the time from after he was obviously agile and he was quite angry. He killed Karen, and he didn't just kill her. He really did a number on her. He just kept slicing her. Remember that? I mean, he
Yep.
made sure she was toast. And then all of a sudden, he just is a decrepit hobo living in the sewer eating rats. And you're like, and then again, I can't illustrate how ridiculous it is that he got pushed over and kind of manhandled by Corey. But unless, of course, he was playing a long game with him, you know what I mean? We don't know. They don't follow through with that. So we just have to assume that he was the weak old bum that they showed us.
That's what I think.
Right. And you're kind of like, why did you make that decision to dismantle something that would clearly be something that would energize fans, that would energize audiences who want a showdown, and then give them a real legit showdown, a real legit payoff? Kill him just the same. I don't care. Burn him. I want to see him die. I mean,
yeah, I do too. And I want Laurie to have a happy ending.
Yes, I want Laurie to live. I don't want her to go through 45 whatever years now of suffering and torment and essentially having no real life, being a terrible mother, being all these things, and to just die at the end. You know what I mean? I don't want that. Yeah, that's other people can die. That's fine. Little home wrecking nurses, they can die. That's fine. You know what I mean? These pervy doctors picking up women half their age, they can die. But Laurie, she's had such an unfair shake in life.
Yeah.
And I want to see her get to maybe the peaceful place she was in ends at the beginning after she kills Michael.
Right.
Like her demon is
exactly.
totally extinguished. She's free. She's good. That's what I want to see. But I want a good story, an energetic story. Have Michael massacre more of the town. If you're going to tell me, compared to what we got in ends, if you're going to tell me he's Superman and he's bulletproof and he's just going to keep killing people, I'll go for the ride. You know what I mean? So long as we get a good payoff. You know, we get the
something
payoff.
coherent.
Yeah.
You know, some people were getting down on fans who didn't like it, which most fans don't seem to like it. They were saying how, oh, you would complain if they followed the same formula, you would complain. And so the director and the creative team, they took this new bold approach and you're still not happy. It's like, no.
So you're saying we're Goldilocks, basically. You know, it's like
we won something that's just right, and this was not it. 2018 was, Kills wasn't, and Ends wasn't. And I had mentioned in my review, so you don't necessarily want to see the exact same repetition, but you like the formula to stay the same-ish, right? So like in the formula of 2018, it was kind of the same-ish, but they flipped it on its head. Michael became the prey. I mean, he was the predator, but he also ultimately he became the prey. But it had this same, like there was something about it that was constructed in a way that was comfortable, and that's what we're used to. Then they go off on this weird tangent with Kills, and then they do this other really weird ass stuff with Ends. And I had mentioned earlier in the evening that it would be really cool if somebody could take the best parts of Ends and Kills and just like combine them into one movie and make like something that's so much better.
Yeah. Like what if the end of Kills, like where you saw, I mean, you could seriously cut out the whole freaking 100 minutes of the movie and get right to the showdown at the end. Remove everything with Corey. I mean, like seriously, just edit him out of the film and just tack that epilogue onto Halloween Kills, the end, like where I'm coming for you, Michael, and then
they're battling it out in the kitchen. Yeah.
Right. And you'd have to shoot a couple scenes to mend that, but it's like that's all that mattered. So now you feel like the whole little wounded Romeo and Juliet with the synth waves music. It reminded me like they tried to be like the Guest a little bit. Like I got vibes of that, like with the young people, you know, with their love story, and they're just misunderstood. That's not a Halloween movie. If they're misunderstood, you just do it for a couple scenes and then you're done with it. You move on. It didn't really serve a bigger purpose, and I really think that was one of many missteps. But just focusing on this Corey kid and making him imposter Meyers really.
Michael 2.0 was what I called him.
Yeah.
I have not, Simon. I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it. I don't even remember what network it's on. Chibi, will you make up your mind? What do you want? She's just doing circles here. She acts like she wants to get up on my lap. Come on. But that's not a good angle. But here I am right here. She can jump right up here. This way. Come on. Come on. Then she backs away. She's a fickle dog.
They can't win.
No, you can't win.
But then I
it's
guess
on Netflix.
here's a topic. So people complained about. Remember, what's the common complaint with Halloween 3?
Oh, because it wasn't about Michael Myers.
Right. Well,
people wanted to see Michael Myers.
Now, are we sounding like those people tonight?
Well, we are, but see how, so people, okay, but here's the thing. So I've seen some people on Twitter say, well, Halloween 3 was hated on a lot and it's got a cult following now. Well, but Halloween 3 was hated on because people they honestly thought it was supposed to be a continuation. They didn't realize it was part of this anthology plan. So you cannot even compare the two. This was sold to us as a Michael Myers and Laurie Strode movie. That's what that's what was presented to us. And so when you find out, someone put a funny thing on Twitter. I can't remember who it was. It was some company. They put this thing. Did you enjoy Michael's cameo in Halloween? It was funny.
I've seen a lot of posters fans have made where they put they've replaced Corey with Michael and it's Laurie behind him, Corey in front, and it's like the Corey Cunningham story. Oh, and Michael's in it.
Oh yeah, you talking about that poster?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them on there.
Oh yeah, I have that. I got that at the theater. I've got it hanging up on my wall here, and now it hurts to look at it.
Well, send it to me. I'll frame it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a cool poster. I really like it. She looks badass. He looks scary, and with the mask and everything. But now, looking at it, it's like, God damn it! It was such a disappointment.
Well, yeah, I never buy. I never, because I was always one of the first people to be critical. Like when they would say, "Oh, Halloween 3, it's so stupid. There's no Michael," and they're like, "Well, yeah, they were pretty clear that Michael wasn't in it." You watch have you seen the original teaser for Halloween 3, the trailer for it?
I don't think I have.
It's actually pretty good made trailers. Creepy.
Really, the movie itself is decent because it came to the big screen like within the past year or so, and I went to go watch it again. And I remember the first time I saw it, I wasn't super crazy about it. I was like, it's okay. But then when I rewatched it, I was like, this is actually a pretty solid horror movie. This is really, there was some stuff that happened at the end, like with the girl being an android or whatever. I was like, that was kind of dumb. But as a whole, it was pretty good.
Yeah, no, it really was. And, it was very much, I tell people, it's very much a John Carpenter film. I mean, it really is. He didn't direct it, but you can tell it's his
like
crew.
A Carpenter. Yeah.
It's his music. It's his same set of actors he always likes to use.
Right.
And, I mean, I thought it was actually a good movie. I liked it. I enjoy it. I have the 4K behind me and the record.
Of course you do.
I got a frame poster right on the other side of over there. But, I like it. But if you watch the trailers for it, they make no qualms hiding that it's not about Michael. It's the season of the witch, and it's about a witch. Like you watch it, it's eerie. It's eerie.
I think I think maybe they just expected because it said Halloween, whether they saw the trailer or not. They probably just expected.
Well, and then you watch the trailer. Look at the poster. There's a bunch of indications that it's like I don't fault them as pulling a bait and switch like I felt like they did with Ends here.
Yeah.
Where every trailer you saw was focused solely on the 4 minutes at the end. And that was just 90% of the trailer. And you're like, well, I wonder where people got the idea that Michael would be a significant part of this film. It's like they just banked off the payoff, the last finale with him and Laurie. And then if you hadn't watched it, you wouldn't even know that this kid named Corey was in the film. And I think that was also kind of pisses me off too. And it ultimately
was deceptive. It felt deceptive for sure. It really did. I mentioned that in my review, just because the only thing I saw was, like I said, the teaser. I didn't watch the full trailer, but the teaser certainly gives you that. Say what?
There's not much more in the regular trailer. I mean, it's
really
more of the same.
Yeah, that's
so. Just, I don't know, man. I really now I know that the franchise is essentially going to be toast for a while because they're not going to just come out with a new thing. So we're going to have to wait another 5, 10, 15,
10 years.
Yeah, and then what are we going to get that time? And it's sad that we have to wait now with such a bad taste in our mouth. You know what I mean?
I wanted to be happy. Some people accused fans who didn't like it. You just went into it not wanting to like it. No, that's complete bullshit. I went into it wanting to like it, and I thought that I had a good feeling about it, Derek. I went in
Yeah.
quite optimistic.
Yeah.
Despite what happened with Kills, I was like, you know what? If they can clean it up, if this movie is good, it will certainly make me be able to tolerate Kills a little better, or I'll just pretend Kills never happened and I'll jump from 2018 to Ends. That was my
Yeah.
strategy. Now I just don't even want to count either of them.
Yeah, I don't, because I rewatched both Halloween and Halloween Kills back to back going into this.
Yeah.
And you touched upon him. You're all fresh in your mind. Okay, I'm up to date. Kills. You're still going in there thinking he's okay. I've kind of grudgingly accepted he's Michael Voorhees now. You know what I mean? He's bulletproof. He can kill the whole mob. And then all of a sudden, I'm repeating myself, but that was just one of those big irritants to me. Is that they threw you for a loop on Kills. You grudgingly accept that that's the way they decided to go, which was already upsetting. Compared to 18.
I was not happy.
And then they
with
throw
that
you even farther away from that, and it's just a totally different retarded direction. And this whole film was a mistake. I don't know, how did no one like stand up and go, no one's gonna like this, guys, this is gonna be bad? I mean, like, at what point? I mean, I guess that's Hollywood, where they just kind of, whoever's making money at the time, they disagree with them and let them do what they want. But
I felt like they were in touch with what was good in 2018. I just don't understand how they lost their way. But maybe, like you said, maybe Jamie Lee Curtis meddled in things too much. Maybe David Gordon Green really just didn't know what the hell he was doing. Maybe the other
yeah. And I mean, again, I can just project but my intuition tells me that David Gordon Green was bullshitting when he said that he had the whole thing mapped out. Maybe he had it mapped out. I made 2018, and then at some point Michael dies. Hey, there's the end. I've got it mapped out. You know what I mean? And it's everything along the way is filler.
Like he didn't know how to write it there convincingly.
Right. And he didn't know how to get there, because it was clear by Kills that they didn't have a concrete plan, because, like I had originally kind of touched upon when I was fumbling around trying to find my words, but they switched from the Meyers house was already done for. It was erased. It was a community garden. Hawkins was toast. Sartain, he played Michael, played him like a fiddle, got him to break him out of jail. And then all of a sudden these things they don't care about those anymore. Michael was human, but no, he's not human. And so to me, it's just like they were kind of doing this on the fly. And I don't understand how so many talented people could supposedly get something so non-concrete, and just keep like flipping around, just kind of shooting from the hip, throwing things at the wall. Let's see what sticks. And then even if something sticks and we want to go with that, who gives a shit? Next movie, we won't care, And I just think it's just this trilogy is not. It got really high hopes. It came out of the gate strong and just fell apart.
Yeah. It did. The books, because I've never read any of the novelizations. Does he talk in the books?
No, he didn't talk in the first one, but Dr. Sartain said, you go off. They show things from his point of view, where he's thinking, and he doesn't understand why exactly he does what he does, but he gets these impulses and he kills people. And Sartain said, remember when the journalist came? Oh, he can talk, he just chooses not to.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
right. And apparently him and Dr. Sartain had conversations all the time, and that's how Michael manipulated him and teased him, because he really wanted to know, well, what's it like to kill something? I need to psychologically understand that, and Michael shows that Michael's probably smarter than this doctor, you know what I mean? But yeah, in the books, he doesn't specifically say anything, which is good.
Simon. Yeah, because I think if he actually ever uttered a word, it would just take away the whole, just like it would just kind of undo all of the mystique about Michael Myers.
Like at the end of Halloween 2, the Rob Zombie one.
Did he talk at the end of that? I forgot.
Yeah.
I've only seen it once, like in passing. I kind of blotted out of my memory. I forgot he talked. What did he say?
Die.
Oh, okay.
He screams die before he stabs Loomis like in the face a dozen times. But that, I guess that is one positive to come out of Ends here. is I no longer feel that Resurrection and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 are the worst films in the series. I
Oh,
actually
well, I
I
don't count
kind of like them.
Resurrection.
I know.
Uh, I don't count Resurrection. So in my list, I've got Halloween 2, that Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is last, just because it veered off into that wonky, ridiculous sort of, I don't know, stuff they were doing. Um, s- Supernatural and the visions and the mother with the horse.
Yeah.
And bleh. And then right in front of that is Ends.
Okay. Well, at least to those two, Resurrection and RZH2, whatever you want to dub it. At least those ones we actually got Michael, right? We had him for
Yeah,
the entirety of the film. So
that's
you
true.
can say what you want. We got a real freaking Michael for 90 minutes, okay, guys? So,
That's
um,
true.
and then I did like that Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. It's a misfire of a film. It really is. But he did try to change the mold a bit, but again, it didn't work. He was the first time we had Hobo Myers, where Michael Myers was basically a bum. He
Oh,
had the
see,
long beard and
I almost wonder if I should return to that movie. So I recently watched Halloween, Rob Zombie's the first one, because for the 2007
yeah, yeah.
discussion, and so we watched that, and I have always like, well, I like it, okay, but it's definitely not the my favorite, and it takes away the scary factor of Michael Myers when you try to explain how he became the way he became, and he's this kid and all this stuff, and then now the physical reality of his character, Tyler Mane, was
Hmm.
very intimidating and scary because he's huge,
Oh yeah,
and the
yeah,
mask was cool and all of that, but it just didn't feel the same level of creep and fear to me as the original, when you
yeah.
just don't understand and he's just quiet and he just,
Yeah, his zombie, 2007. My take on it, and it depends which version you watch. If you watch the leaked work print one that wasn't
I
supposed to come
saw
out,
I saw that one. The
okay,
ending was different.
different ending.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of he escapes prison differently, or the asylum differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's differences quite through it, but I think that it's one of those films where an extended cut actually hurt the film, because I don't think that the theatrical cut, while it doesn't, I know it's still a misfire of a film in my opinion, but it's redeemable. There are good points about it. There are good parts, good moments that make it watchable.
Mhm.
And I think the last half of the film, or it's about the halfway point when it gets to modern times where he's stalking Lori. Yes, RZ, the H2, that opening was better than the rest of the movie, where she's in the hospital and everybody, it was nasty.
Oh, was that with Danielle's character?
Well, she was in it. She was in both of them, but where Danielle Harris comes into the story is Annie and all those. But I thought that was actually a good last half of the film. I'll say that. I just thought that like you were saying, the initial build up with the flashbacks and having little tiny Myers talking and becoming it took away all this mystique and this little goofy looking little boy. I didn't like it. I just
Yeah.
thought it
Yeah.
undermined the film, the series, the mystique of Myers. Zombie was just hitting it a little too what do they say, like hitting it on the nose, you know what I mean? He was just being a little too forward with it. And
Mm.
I think that just shows that Zombie narratively as a storyteller, he's kind of infantile, juvenile. He's not a very he's not, writing and storytelling are not his strong suits. Visuals are. Like he gets really good visuals. Like the dude, I mean, if you watch any of those music videos back from like his stuff, or he's very good at creating visuals, memorable images, brutal stuff. Like he's good at that. Like, but telling stories, he's not. I don't think is particularly good about them. A lot of them feel
Mm.
very simplistic, very juvenile is the word I keep using. But yeah, I think the theatrical cut of 2007 is pretty good. If you get to the work print one, it's just unnecessarily long. A lot of people don't like the rape scene, which whatever, just the movie. The Munsters. I
I
didn't
haven't
mind the Munsters. I
I
didn't
haven't
mind it.
seen that, but I've heard it was pretty bad.
I don't know. I think a lot of people didn't. Did you ever watch Munster Show?
Only here and there whenever I was around a TV.
It's tongue in cheek. It's intentionally slapsticky, kind of
Yeah.
goofy. It's deliberately over the top. Um, and if you're not going in there knowing there's going to be a hokey fest, you're going to probably say it's stupid and ugly.
Oh, okay.
But if you go in there kind of lighthearted, just it's a goofy looking film, very oddly lit, but
So what is your answer to this question?
Oh,
I would think it would be Halloween Ends is harder if you didn't mind the monsters.
yeah, probably the Munsters. I mean, sorry, I'll watch the Munsters again before I don't know.
Yeah, you
What?
just
Who knows? Because if I'm gonna go see Halloween Ends on Halloween night, I'll probably watch that before I watch
right.
Munsters again.
That's what I
So,
was thinking.
oh
But
shit.
what's harder to watch?
Probably the
Probably
Munsters. I think
really?
for as much as I did not like Halloween Kills, it doesn't feel
You mean
like it's
Ends?
runtime. I'm sorry, Halloween Ends. I'm sorry, it's
Yeah.
getting late.
Okay.
As
I
long as it doesn't feel like it's runtime to me, anyways. Like I still had this movie didn't feel like it was dragging. It felt like nothing special to me. I wasn't excited about it. It was just kind of like it was just blah, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
it didn't feel unpleasant. I don't think Halloween Ends feels necessarily like it doesn't feel like a 110-minute film or whatever minute film. It doesn't feel like that to me. It feels like it moves pretty quick, but it's just nothing remarkable. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
sometimes movies that aren't particularly good, you can still watch in the
They're
background.
still watchable.
They don't feel like they're dragging their feet or
I
anything.
have
There's
seen Halloween 6 so many times over and over and over again because they play it a lot on Pluto TV.
oh yeah, yeah.
And you know what's weird? As much as I'm not crazy about that movie, I will see anytime there's like a Halloween movie on, whether
Yeah,
it's 4, 5, or 6, even if it's 6, I
yeah.
play.
Yep.
I play it.
Well,
Oh, and
6 is
I love the end song. I love the song at the end of the credits of 6. And I like the song at the end of the credits in H2O. I need to find those
yeah.
songs.
Those were the that was Creed did What's This Life for
Oh, that
H2O.
was Creed. Okay. And
That
what
was
was
the
the other
first
one?
hit thing. That was one by a band called Brother Kane. It was like I think it goes "Fools Shine On," I believe was the name of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
song.
that. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And those are both kind of mid '90s grunge esque bands. You know that the grunge sound. I don't think it's deliberately grunge, but that was them. They had the Weinstein brothers had a lot of tie-ins. They were trying to make these grungy bands. They were putting a song every time in one of their movies, and those
Oh,
were
okay.
two that they had
Well, I like
gotten.
them.
Yeah, they're good songs,
They're
and
good. Yeah.
they're very '90s. But I mean, I dig them. That was the first time I ever heard of Creed. Was
Oh, was it?
what's
Okay.
yeah, because remember they got super big like in the next years to come. They became enormous, and then they kind of disappeared a bit.
I think with Arms Wide Open is the first time I noticed them. It's because they kept playing that video over and over and over again.
Well, that was in 2000 for their Human Clay album. See, I remember this.
Okay.
But they also, again, with the Weinsteins, with their connections, they did that song "What If" for Scream 3, which
Okay.
got heavy rotation. David Arquette was in the music video and everything. And
Oh, okay. I
yeah,
haven't seen the music video.
yeah,
Okay.
it's just a fun time for that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, man, I love H6 because I gotta say that was the first time I ever became aware of Michael Myers. I think you're the same, right? Because you were saying you saw a trailer when you were pregnant with Arturo.
Oh, no, I already knew about Michael Myers.
I thought Halloween 6, you were telling some story.
No. So, okay, what happened is, so I was very young when I saw Halloween, and I grew up without a TV. Maybe I've never told you this story. I grew up without a TV. So
I don't know.
anytime I saw something on a TV, I was very impacted by it, especially traumatic sorts of scenes. And so my mom used to take care of this. She was a caretaker for this really old lady, and her shift would be at night sometimes. So my dad and it wasn't in the best part of town. So my dad and I would go and we would be with her for her night shift. And this particular night they were playing Halloween on the TV.
Oh,
And it might have been in preparation for the release of Halloween 2. You know how they had like the TV version, which has extra footage in it. But whichever time it was, it started playing. And when it became evident that this was something scary, killing and violence going on, instead of changing the channel, they just tell me to turn around in the chair, to turn my chair around. So I spent pretty much the whole movie with my back to the screen. But I can hear everything, and most notably, you can hear the breathing, the
yeah.
mask, and that has always creeped me out, okay? So then they think he's dead, and I turn back, they say, "Oh, he's dead now, you can turn back around." No, he wasn't, he was coming up again, he was coming after her again, So I was actually scarred by that experience. I was so scared of Michael Myers. He's so scary to me. And my bed at the time, we lived in a basement apartment, and my bed was right by the front door. And I just knew he was going to come, and my parents wouldn't let me sleep with them. And I was so, so scared. And I remember I would walk, back from their bedroom to my room, and I was like this, and I was like
Yeah.
taking like little tiny inch baby steps, like because I was so afraid. I just knew Michael was there, so he's always scared me. And so then later, I eventually saw the whole film or whatever. It still scared me, and I watched all of the movies. I watched Halloween 4 and 5, and then I'm pregnant with Arturo, and my husband and we're out of town. We're in a hotel, and they played a trailer for Halloween 6. This was 95.
Mhm.
And I had a nightmare about him that night. That was when I had this nightmare about him. And I'd had nightmares about him throughout my life, but that night I remember, and I wake my husband up. And I was like, I had a nightmare about Michael Myers. And I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. I am a full-grown adult. I'm
Yeah.
about to be a mother, and I'm having nightmares about
It
this
was
character.
the baby hormones or something.
Must have been what it was. But I still have nightmares about him, Derek. I really do. It's the weirdest. So it's like, why am I so drawn to this character that I still have nightmares about? It's so strange. I can't
Yeah.
explain it, but that's
Yeah.
my Michael Myers story, and I still get creeped out. When I saw 2018 last
Mhm.
week, and I wanted to stay through the playing of the triumphant song, which is the credits right at the end. You know
Mhm.
that the rock version, I guess, sort of. And I was alone because everybody had left, and I was alone, and I was actually very creeped out. Like I was like looking. I was really I look
Yeah.
to see.
That happens sometimes
So
to me in horror
stupid.
movies too,
So
man. Like when I'm the
stupid.
only person in the theater, like that's why I like to sit in the last row on the back. So
I do
there's
too.
no one behind you.
I sit in the last row as well, but then I'm like, well, Michael might be down there somewhere.
Well, at least you
So
have an escape plan you can kind of visualize if you did. You know what I mean?
there's 2 exits. I'll go the
Yeah.
other way. And then I was even having a scenario in my mind, like, what if he would chase me around through both exits, in and out and in and out? It's like,
Yeah.
which way would I go? How could I hide? Where would I hide? But so when I saw Ends, I did an out of the theater reaction. I filmed a really quick bit right in the theater as the end credits were playing, and then I filmed my like couple more minutes in the car. And it's weird because I did have like this creepy, because it's dark, and a creepy feeling, and I do catch myself looking in the
Yeah.
back. And somebody took a picture. They took a still from that video and they put a picture of Michael behind me.
Oh no. Now you're really in trouble, man.
It's like, yeah, he's not too happy. I was giving him this negative review. It's funny. I'll have to show it to you sometime.
I
You'll
saw
see.
your initial one because I watched it after I got home, like after I saw Halloween Ends on opening night, and
Oh,
where
that's
you're in
right.
your truck or whatever,
Yeah.
or your car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you saw it. You saw it 5 o'clock your time, right?
Yeah, I was surprised because I forget the whole hour thing threw me off. I was like, oh, I just got back from Halloween. You're like, oh, I already saw it. I'm like, oh shoot, that's right.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
right.
like,
I think you okay, hold on. So I saw it at 5 o'clock my time because that was the earliest showtime as well. So that would have been 3. So I think our times might have overlapped a skosh,
yeah.
but
Well, I think I'm 2 hours ahead of you now, but the earliest for me
2
was
hours
5 as well.
behind me.
Oh, 2 hours behind.
I mean, yeah.
There you go.
I
See,
know you
that's
have
what
to
threw
do
me
that
off with it.
mental math.
Yeah.
But I wish I'm glad there were people that enjoyed it. That's fine. I disagree with you that it's the best Halloween film ever. I'm glad whoever enjoyed it. I'm glad you were able to enjoy it if you were able to enjoy it. I wanted to enjoy it. I wish that I could have enjoyed it. But
Yeah. And I always like to tell people I don't like to. If I didn't like it, don't let me discourage you from seeing it if you want to see it, because that's just my taste. Don't listen to
yeah.
me. Don't listen to the Rotten Tomatoes people. Just go see it. We're just having a therapy session right now where we're just
I
kind of
know.
raving,
We're just like holding hands and
I know, just cry this
sobbing
one out.
internally.
Yeah, we need our Dr. Loomis to confide in, who's going to help us sort these psychological damages out, these neuro ways that need fixing.
Oh my gosh.
But
It's just
yeah, I still think people should go see it. Just know, I think, know what you're getting into, and you may not be as hurt as much. I think a lot of it is
Yeah.
the disappointment. But if you go in there, maybe knowing that it's not a Michael Myers centric story, he's just kind of he's a tack on. That maybe you can appreciate what is there, but I didn't. But maybe
I
someone
think
could.
if you took Michael Myers out of the equation and didn't even make it, I mean, it's an okay horror film,
Right.
but it's a terrible, terrible Halloween film. Kind of like
See,
how
now,
that's how I felt about Terminator.
you know, now if this
Okay.
would have been like say there hypothetically there was a Halloween TV show, like with episodes, this would have worked as an episode, as a filler.
As
You
a
know what I
filler,
mean? Like
yeah.
told a little story that kind of centers, like if there was a show called Haddonfield, where they dealt with how, like what David Gordon Green was saying, I wanted to dive into how these, how the effect of a massacre in a town would affect people. He wanted
Right.
to examine that and how it can transfer into other things. I didn't really buy what he was saying, but that was his intent. And maybe that would have worked good as Haddonfield, examining different people connected to Allison, to Laurie, whatever, and they could still be a part of it, but seeing how it affected them or how Michael may have interwoven in their lives. That would be interesting. I could go for that, perhaps, but not for the finale, not to kill him off, not in the realm of a film. I'm just thinking out loud, like maybe that would work to a degree. But yeah, what's done is done. We can't. That's just me thinking out loud. But that's what it felt like to me. It felt like a side story that should not have been told. And at best, it was a TV episode, and it should never have been a feature film. So
Well, it's like they didn't really know how to effectively write the whole Laurie and Michael coming to a showdown thing, so they just kind of had to pull this other stuff in to fill it. Like you said,
right.
it would be like a filler. That's what it felt like.
And I still don't buy, and I don't care if this threw a few shots of Michael walking out of the sewer and following Corey around till he got to Laurie's house, who supposedly he drove there on motorcycle, so it was pretty far. You know what I mean? I don't think it'd be walking distance, but you mean to tell me the most sought after boogeyman who massacred your town and every law enforcement
He
agency
could
in the
make it
world
all the
wants
way.
you, didn't notice you walking down in the same dirty ass jumpsuit to go find out where Laurie lives now? And for
Right.
him to just magically pop up during the confrontation between Corey and Laurie, I don't buy any of this. It just doesn't feel organic. It
No.
smells like bullshit to me.
No,
It
no, it
smells
doesn't.
lazy
Like
writing.
the way they brought Laurie and Michael together in 2018 made perfect sense.
It was engineered. So I mean, you're kind of
Yeah.
like, and as much as I thought that was kind of goofy when they initially revealed that, when they showed Sartain wearing the mask and stuff,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like,
But to see that that's how Michael got there, that made sense to me.
that would be a plausible notion, I guess. I can't say I was a big fan of it, but I accept it. It was more plausible than Michael again magically popping up
Yeah.
right when Corey fell off the banister.
Yeah.
You're just like,
Yeah.
and then he's ready to have the showdown.
Oh no, it wasn't right when Corey. It was later.
Well,
Because
after he,
Laurie
you know,
comes down there. Laurie
Yeah.
comes down there. He stabs himself. He stabs himself at some point. Laurie freaks out a little bit. She grabs the knife like an idiot, takes it
Yeah.
out of his throat like an even bigger idiot, because then it looks like she killed him. Then Allison comes in. Then they have their little, and then Allison turns and leaves. And then
Yeah.
later Michael shows up.
Then Michael shows up, but he'd been basically waiting outside for.
He
You know
had
what I
to have
mean?
been. He had to have been.
He picked his entrance, and I'm just rolling my eyes at that. You're kind of like, oh, come
And he
on.
just conveniently, there was his mask right there for him to pick
let me
up.
pick it. Let me get it from you.
And
Oh,
make
now
sure to get it.
And why did Corey all of a sudden decide to turn on Michael?
Yeah, right. Oh, he learned his lesson, I guess.
Okay. And then
He was
Michael
reformed
decides,
now.
no, I don't like you now. Click. With your
Stupid. That was
neck.
so stupid.
It's just nothing is adding up. I want answers. This guy needs to sit down, David Gordon Green, and atone for these sins. He needs to answer. He needs to be subpoenaed by Congress for all I care. I want some answers, and I don't care if it changes the outcome of the film. You just give me. I want to make you feel stupid. It's like I want to ask you these questions, and I want to. Man.
Okay. All right. So Simon says, oh, here I go. Simon says, I can't. Simon tells us that wasn't theory. That wasn't Michael in the sewer. Corey just happened to find a supernatural entity cosplaying Michael in the sewer, which is why he could do that transference thing. Michael's still alive. Okay. Well, he's not, because that's definitely Michael. You could tell when he took his mask off. You could tell it was Jude Courtney, whatever the heck his name is. And he had the botched up eye.
Yeah.
So it's Michael.
Did you see him unmasked behind the scenes, like the old man
Mr.
makeup
Smith.
they put? It looks really gross. I mean, it is. It is.
No, I haven't.
He's
It's
all
because
like
he's
dried up and got like little warts on him and little bit of facial. He looks he looks gross. And he posted a picture I think on Instagram or something like that of him behind the scenes with just in his makeup and
I don't like to see any part of him, to be honest. So, they show his face a little bit. They show his face in the
yeah,
original. And then in 2018, I don't even like what we saw of him in 2018. Now, I know a lot of it's in shadow, but he's
yeah,
balding, and I just don't like that look for this creepy, terrible killer guy.
yeah,
I don't want to see this part of him. It's fine that you show the side of his face with the screwed up eye where he got stabbed with a coat hanger.
yeah,
But I don't wanna see that he's balding, and I don't wanna see that he's got a beard. I don't wanna see anything, really.
yeah.
Don't show me that. And they showed us too much, I felt like, even though I love 2018, and they proceeded to show us too much again in
Yeah,
this
they
one.
do, and especially if it takes away the mystique. Because I mean, the first
That's
one
what it
they
is,
did
yeah.
show the shot of Tony Moran as where Laurie unmasks him.
Yeah.
Um, they showed that shot, but otherwise they went out of their way, paints and to not show him. And then Halloween 5, they tried to show his face a bit, but it was still pretty concealed. I mean, you really have to kind of freeze frame it to get a full on
Mm.
glimpse. You know what I mean? So I think they understood that you keep him behind the mask. That was kind of John Carpenter would talk about that. About how it's like the nondescript, the white face. It's like just nothingness. That's what was kind
Yeah.
of scary because you could project your own fear onto it. It's not defined for you. It's just a white mask. It's just nothing, and I think that works well. And whenever they try to pull back the curtain, it never
It
you
takes
never
away, yeah, it does. It diminishes the scare factor for me.
and that's
So,
why
that's why I don't like that.
I liked, and that's touching on Rob Zombies. That's what I was trying to touch originally because he shot it two different ways. He shot every scene with Michael after he masked and unmasked, where he's a hobo bum with a beard and stuff. He shot both ways so that he could just switch him out. He wanted to do Michael unmasked, and it wasn't. It just doesn't work. It's an interesting idea. Like, oh, he's a hobo now and he's a bum. He's living in a field. We'll just leave him like that. But it doesn't work. People don't want to see that. Like you were saying, you don't want to see him with huge beards and kind of looking like a gnome. You know what I mean? It's just
It's the mask. It's the mask that makes him.
Yep.
And so when you unmask him, that takes away all of that.
Yeah.
It just eliminates it. So you really should keep it on him at all costs if
Yeah.
you want to keep that pretense of him being this scary. It's not Michael. It's the stinking mask is Michael.
Yeah. He's
So
just John Carpenter said that quote. I love that quote where I can paraphrase it, but he just said that Michael Myers is like the wind. You know what I mean? He's you don't explain him. He's like the wind. He's the boogeyman. Every time you try to explain him, it just makes him not scary anymore. And I guess to a degree, what do you think? Did you think H6 diminished him with the Thorn Cult?
oh yeah.
You did?
I don't
Okay.
like the whole supernatural. No, I don't like that aspect. That makes him unscary to me.
I like Halloween 6, him being brutal. I thought
Yeah, the
he was
brutal
his
stuff,
most brutal
but
part.
when you introduce that whole supernatural element, when you make him unkillable, as surprising as it sounds, when you make him supernatural and unkillable, it takes away the creep factor. It takes away the raw fear
Yeah.
of him, because when you introduce that, to me, adding supernatural elements to horror is not really all that scary to me. It's the human horror that scares me the most, like a killer, a serial killer, a human.
Something
'Cause
that you could transfer into real world in your imagination. You know
yeah,
what I mean? You start
exactly.
seeing it in real things. When I know that it's a ghost, I've never seen a ghost, so I just have to take the film at face value. That's Halloween. Halloween 5. He cries. He cries.
Was it 5?
Yeah.
Was that when he was in his niece in the attic?
Yeah. Uncle
Okay.
Boogeyman, can I see? Remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah. That's right. That was so those moments are
And he just
lame.
sat there and cried, and he let her almost touch him, and then he threw a little tantrum and launched all this stuff around. It was kind of like a little, which I thought was interesting because if he is like a little baby, like still a 6-year-old in his head, he would throw a temper tantrum, right?
Right.
But maybe you just don't need to say it. But yeah, it's all. I don't know, man. Are you gonna
I
own
know.
Halloween Ends when it comes out?
You know, I have Halloween Kills on digital.
You haven't bought the disc yet, huh?
No,
Mm,
I
okay.
know. And
I
I
bought it
thought,
like 10 times, you know.
I know you did. You buy all the things 10 times, Derek.
Let me show you a cool one from my collection.
Okay.
Here. This is a glow-in-the-dark Walmart exclusive cover. Slip
Oh,
cover.
that's cool. See, that
You see
mask
that?
is cool. I like that
Yeah.
mask, though.
And of
That's
course,
cool.
it's a double dip because it's
That's
the same.
creepy, though. Glow in the dark. I would not have that in my bedroom.
Oh,
I would
chicken.
not. I
Um,
am. I am a chicken.
Let me show you another Halloween Kills I have. This is a little goofier, but I don't know if you can see that slip cover. I guess you can't. It's like reverse, so you have to think left, right. This is
Okay.
Halloween Kills.
Okay.
Walmart exclusive. But I think when they become off exclusive, they just go on groove.com for like $5. So
Oh,
yeah, so saving
yeah.
money there.
No, I
But
haven't. I haven't. You know what? Yeah, no, I think I was going to say, do I even have Halloween 2018 on DVD and Blu-ray? I think I do.
you should look.
Pretty sure I do, but I don't
Same
have
thing.
Kills. I don't think I have. What? Show me that again.
Can you see it okay?
Dang. Yes. How many of these do you have for real?
Sorry, I can't tell because I'm reversed here. But yeah, this is my
And
God.
is it so? Why do you buy all these different versions? Is it because the cover?
Yeah, I'm a purist. I'm a sucker. And then see, I can pull really quick. Here's some more of my Halloween DVDs. Give me just 1 second. Bear with me here. But I've got them all situated.
Oh my gosh.
Can you see a Halloween 3 box set?
I see a box set, but I can't tell what it is. Oh, that blue. Yeah, the one in the back. Oh,
There's
that's
Halloween 3,
big.
4, 5, 6. 6 is actually one of those retro VHS covers. It goes for like $150 or whatever on eBay now, but I bought it when it was $5 at Walmart.
Oh my
So it's like
gosh.
a
Wow.
VHS. But
That's
yeah,
crazy.
sorry, I got so much Halloween crap I could just go through it. But yeah, that's the one that I fanboy out the most on. Like every time there's like a new version, I'm just like, I probably should not get that. Well, but I'll take 2. And it's like the books, man. I'm telling you, when people make fun of me for these weird Halloween fan things, though, when I bought all those Halloween books in the 90s at like thrift stores for a dime a quarter,
And they're worth a lot now.
go on eBay and they're like $300, $400, and people pay that for them. They're not just crazy people asking; they actually sell at that. So it's like,
that's crazy.
yeah. So I get the last laugh.
The last laugh.
But yeah, one day I'll have to show you all my Halloween stuff. I got it all.
Do you have a mask?
I did as a kid, but I haven't bought one yet. I haven't bought one.
I am surprised. That actually shocks me.
Can you see that?
What is that? Yeah. Is that a calendar?
Record.
Oh.
Vinyl.
Oh, of the soundtrack.
Yeah. And
I love
have
the
it on
score
cassette
on. I
tape
love
as
the
well.
soundtrack on there.
Yeah,
I bought that one, yeah. Not the vinyl, but I bought the digital soundtrack to 2018.
What's cool with the Sacred Bones, who John Carpenter releases all his stuff through now, they release all. I mean, you're probably not into the vinyl thing, but the vinyl stuff, it's cool. They do all these colored discs. They'll come out. They'll be like, one will be like pumpkin orange, and then they'll make them like, pumpkin on fire, where it's got like yellow and white like splattered throughout the orange. I mean, it's just really kind of cool, and they're like limited editions of like 150, 200 or something like that. Ooh. So you get them. You're one of the only handful of people in the world who ever have that one.
Dang.
But yeah, there's a whole rabbit hole of collectibles to buy. Once you open that door, there's no coming back. It's
you've got a huge collection of stuff. You need to buy a mask.
Yeah, I would love to. I've always thought about that, but I don't know how I'd want to. I guess you could buy like a dummy, like a mannequin head, and like put it on there and display it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wouldn't wear it. I don't know that I really want to wear it, but I'd
Sure you wouldn't. Did you see the video of Arturo scaring me?
I've seen those things. Yeah, that's an old video too, I think. I've seen it before, and I thought he posted
This is a different one. So I posted a short up, and this was this past week. So we go to see the original Halloween, and he puts on the mask. We go in the theater. I've got video of him going in the theater with the mask on. And then, like 2 days later, on Wednesday the 12th, I think it was the 12th, day before Ends came out, I'm talking to my brother on the phone, and I go to come in the house, and I walk in, and there's Arturo, Michael Myers, in the overalls and everything, holding this knife up, or fake knife with the mask. And I was just like, "Hi, Tara!"
I
How
remember
long
him
have you
doing
been standing
videos
there?
like something like he'd pop up, open the door on you or something. I remember he went to a convention, I think it was, or something dressed as
Yeah,
Michael.
he one time he walked in on me when I was doing a review for Halloween Kills. He
Yeah.
walked in on me and scared me. And then we went to our local con, and there was a guy cosplaying as Michael, and that guy actually scared me. He just walked around the corner all silent, like walking like a statue, like how Michael walks, and scared.
Yeah.
That really freaked me out. And then Arturo has cosplayed as him a few times, and he follows me around sometimes, and he just doesn't talk,
Yeah.
when he's in the mask.
You can't, and that's going to be the
It's
tough
great.
thing, because people try to get you to talk and break character, but you
And you
can't.
can't. Yeah, you can't. And then one time when we were at the con, he ran into someone who was dressed up as the 2018 Michael with that mask. So I got a picture of them together.
Oh, cool.
And then one time, my husband, he comes walking up from the basement with the mask on, and I'm by the front door, and the basement door opens into our front foyer. And I think I was there because I was getting the dogs, like I was going to take the dogs out, and the door opens, and there he is with and I was just like, "Oh God!" And I just like slammed the door and it just about hit him in the face.
So that's good. He's in on it. That's reassuring, huh?
And so then one time I'm out with the dogs. It's dark. I'm out with the dogs. And Arturo comes out with my phone, and he's blaring the Halloween theme music.
Oh. Yeah,
Everybody,
cool,
it's like a
man.
running joke, I mean, it's funny because it's so ridiculous that I'm that scared. But yeah. Have you seen the Halloween theater scares videos from about 10 to 15 years ago? No, I haven't. No, I have not.
I haven't either.
I've seen, I saw a video when 2018 came out, and they have a video of like this guy that dressed up as Michael Myers, and he went to the theater. That was pretty funny, but that was just a few years ago. But I haven't seen. What I want to look up, and I think they must be there somewhere, is like theater reactions, audio reactions of people when they first saw Halloween back in the 70s.
Oh yeah, when they would record test audiences and stuff to see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just even audio. Someone was recording audio, and you could hear like maybe I need to look up stuff like that.
I wonder if they even did test screening though, because I was selective back then. But it was an independent film, so I don't know if they did it. I'm sure Halloween 2 had something like that done, because that was in the studio system. But I wonder if the first one they would have even done that. I don't know.
I don't know. I will look up and see if I can find something. I'll check and see.
Because Halloween 2 went through reshoots, right?
I think I might have known that. I also knew that they filmed the extra footage for the first Halloween movie while they were filming Halloween 2. And
Yeah.
and so in those scenes, like one of the scenes is in the original Halloween, there's a scene with her with a towel on her head, having taken a shower.
Yeah.
That was one of those, it's like filler stuff that they show.
Yeah.
Also, Michael sitting by the window, just looking out quietly. Dr. Loomis is talking to him.
Young Michael in the asylum.
Young Michael, yeah, young Michael.
There was a scene with one of his court, Dr. Loomis at a court hearing, where no one was there. It was just,
Yeah, it was like some sort of hearing for something. I don't remember if it was court or if it was in one of those big auditorium-like places where they have medical stuff going on. I can't remember, but yeah, it was some sort of something like that, like you said.
It was just filler,
Yeah, it's filler, and I do have that, but I generally don't choose to watch that one because they added it in so they could make it fit the 2-hour time slot.
And that interesting because it didn't air on NBC, and NBC was owned subsidiary with Universal, who now bought the film rights, so they had their own kind of synergy.
Don't know, but that's interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was interesting reading about the reshoots on Halloween 2, because that's when John Carpenter had to be called in because they said Rick Rosenthal turned in a cut who would go on to direct Halloween Resurrection, so he directed 2 Halloweens. But apparently it was a bloodless, boring film, and they were panicked, and they had John Carpenter write up and come direct a few blood scenes, like the scene where the one girl's on the phone, Sally, and Michael pops up and stabs her. before he gets to the hospital.
Yeah,
He just
at the
jumps up.
beginning.
Yeah, that
One
was a
of the
reshoot. That was an add-in scene.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so there were 2 scenes in there specifically that jump out at me as really bad. Like one was a kill scene when he kills the nurse with the scalpel and lifts her up in the air
You see the
with the
wires.
scalpel.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah,
when he walks through a glass door,
yeah, and without even
he just no barreling through it. He just walks through it. Just walking
Have
through
you
it
ever
breaks
ran
the
into
glass.
one of those hospital doors or just a door like that on accident? It's like those things are not forgiving. They are tough. I
No,
mean,
they're not. That he could walk through. It's like he could walk through a water hose. Okay, and then in the end, he gets shot like in the eyes, and
yeah.
he's still alive.
Well, you
No
see his eyes looking up, but now they're like he's crying, but just blood
blood.
coming out. Yeah, it's
Blood.
like
See, this is why this is where Halloween 2 falls apart for me. But I kind of include it in the Halloween 2, and Halloween H2O. Like
Mhm.
I include that as like, okay, Halloween H2O was a good finish to these 2 movies
yeah,
because it
yeah.
includes the storyline of being brother and sister. So,
If they would
but
have
I'm
ended
not crazy about 2.
H2O, if that was the end of the franchise and the last Halloween we ever got, as much as I enjoy them coming out every so often, I would have felt completely satisfied with that conclusion.
Me
Like
too.
Laurie came full circle, she
Me too.
confronted her monster and beheaded him, and he was still, though he was supernatural, he wasn't, to the juggernaut Halloween 6 supernatural or
Yeah.
Rob Zombie supernatural. He was still like you felt he might be plausibly killable.
Well,
But I
cutting the
like
head
that.
off. So, I mean, I was happy to see that. I was
Yeah.
glad to see
There's no
that.
coming back from the decapitation. I mean, there really is nothing there.
Yep.
So it would have been it was a good ending. I remember at the time thinking that was the end, and I loved it. And I
Me
was just like, oh,
too.
it's so cool. They
Me
killed
too.
him. He's done for.
Yeah. I was happy,
and
and then someone at the video store was like, "Well, you never know." And I'm like, "Ah, no, they can't come back from that." And then that was the reason. That's why I was so worried about how they were going to explain his survival in the fire.
yeah.
Because I was like, if it's going to be something really dumb, like what they did in Halloween Resurrection to explain how he survived his head getting chopped off, I'm going to be worried. But they did a good job.
Well, Halloween 4, when they said that when they showed him supposedly him and Loomis surviving that explosion, and Loomis just kind of has the burned up hand and a little cheek burn, and
Yeah, I know. I know. How in
Michael's
the
hands are also burned, but that was it. You're kind of like, dude, I don't think, especially when you saw Michael walking out just like the Human Torch. You remember
Yep.
that? And it was
Yep.
just like, and it's just his hands got burned. That's it.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Isn't that amazing? It's so crazy.
Yeah. And they nursed him back to health of all things, which is what gets me. It's like, you guys, you just had to look the other way and just let the fire do its job. And yeah.
I know.
But,
It's amazing the stuff this man has survived. Just
have you seen the other ending of Halloween 2 where Jimmy lives?
Yes.
That was a mythical thing for a long time before
I
the DVD
have.
finally hit. It was
I
always
think that's the one that's in the version that I got, the Blu-ray that I got, and I watched it earlier this year or last year.
Did you watch the TV version? Because there's a very
Maybe it's the TV version. I can't remember.
The Halloween 2 TV version, man, it is goofy. It's not only is it kind of bloodless, but the way they edit it is really.
I think it is the TV. I think it is the TV version.
And they add on Jimmy living, but they also, when he slips on Mrs. Alves' blood and knocks himself out, they re-edit that, so they organize the scene so that it looks like, because of the explosion from the ending, Loomis lighting blowing up Michael and everything, that's what caused him to slip and fall on the blood while he was standing on it.
Right.
Which is semi-plausible. I mean, it wasn't a big reach, but it was just interesting. They did little things like that and just switched things all around, and some of it seemed for no purpose. Like why did you reorganize? Why is that scene now 3 down? You know what I mean? It's an odd viewing, but if you're a fan, it's worth seeing, I guess.
I always thought the way that character died in Halloween 2 was so dumb.
How he slipped and hit his head, and then when he walks out,
then he died in the car.
And when he's like, I think he killed us all, and then he just falls.
Yeah, I was just like, that is so dumb. And
Plus,
then
I liked him. He was such an innocent.
I did too.
Nice boy, and
I know.
And he had to die. He was the only character I think in that movie that I thought I wish he would have lived.
Yeah.
I didn't care for Bud. He was a nasty little pervert. He needed to die. And remember all that. And then of course the scene where he's like boiling that one nurse in the therapy
Yeah.
tub, and his
Yeah.
hand is in the boiling water also. Just
But
no big
nothing
deal.
happens to him. No big
It's
deal.
scalding
Yeah, I know.
her. Her
I
skin's
know.
falling off her and everything. And his
But
hand
he's
is just,
impervious to it. Okay.
yeah. That movie had a lot of flaws, but I still think Halloween
It got
2 was a
started off
decent.
good though. I mean, it
Yeah.
got started off good, and I didn't mind the storyline of finding out that they're brother and sister. I didn't mind that too much. But I'm going to hit end broadcast
Yeah, we're hitting 4 hours.
because
I
we're
see, so.
almost at the 4-hour mark, and I don't know if StreamYard's just gonna turn it off. So thank you to everybody
Okay.
who joined us and joined in our misery about this movie.
But still, go see it. Decide for yourself. Don't parrot what we say unless you
Yeah.
agree with it.
You might feel differently. That's what I've told people, and just I hate it, but you might well differently. But most people seem to hate it. So, okay, everybody.
So,
Bye. Until the
okay,
next
good night.
time.